Chapter 766. It was just a heartbeat, but it caused the entire star region to tremble in an instant. The tremor was extremely weak, but it was real. Ningfan felt that his cultivation base had increased by a few years just by listening to a heartbeat. The heartbeat suddenly disappeared, and the entire star domain stopped trembling, as if the trembling had never existed. Ningfan's eyes turned cold. He frowned and remained silent. At the moment when the heartbeat stopped, Ningfan clearly heard the murmur of an ancient god. It was a murmur that only ancient gods who possessed the heart aperture could hear. Save me. In that heartbeat there was actually a cry for help mixed in. A cry for help. That's the voice. Fellow Taoist Ning, did you hear it? This voice. This voice. Shuekongzi's eyes were filled with excitement. When he heard the heartbeat, his cultivation base also improved slightly. Even though it was not as much as Ningfan's improvement, it was enough to excite him. Just listening to the heartbeat could greatly improve one's cultivation base. If one were to get closer to the heartbeat and listen to it a few more times, tens of times or even hundreds of times, what kind of improvement would one's cultivation base receive? If he could find the source of the heartbeat, he might obtain a great fortune and improve his cultivation base rapidly. In order to find the great fortune hidden behind the heartbeat, Shuekongzi resolutely chose to stay in the Quicksand Star region. Even though he knew that the tide of demons was dangerous, he still wanted to help the Quicksand clan fight against it. Most of the other cultivators who chose to join the Demon Extermination Alliance had the same thought. They were willing to take the risk to stay in the Quicksand clan for their own fortune. However, they could not hear the cry for help hidden under the heartbeat. Ningfan's eyes gradually became dark. He was not as surprised as Shuekongzi and the others. He was deep in thought, trying to figure out what that cry for help sounded like. The heartbeat of the ancient god resounded across the entire star region. The mysterious cry for help hidden under the heartbeat, the sudden collapse of the immortal mountain, the sudden appearance of countless divine treasures, and the sudden appearance of the demon tide. The nest of the demon tide was in the Quicksand Star Ocean. That was the place where the heartbeat of the ancient god came from. This demon tide doesn't seem to be as simple as it seems. Ningfan frowned deeply. Perhaps the ancient god's cave of time was not just a fortune. Perhaps there was some unknown danger hidden. Haha, what does fellow Taoist Ning think about that ancient heartbeat? Is it a great opportunity? Shuekongzi asked with a smile. And just listening to this heartbeat is enough to increase our Tao skills. The opportunity really isn't small. However, the dangers might not be small either. Ningfan did not tell Shuekongzi the second half of his sentence. He was acquainted with Shuekongzi, but their relationship was not so good that he could entrust his life to him. He would not tell Shuekongzi that he was an ancient god, and could hear the murmurs of ancient gods. When necessary, he would remind Shuekongzi to be careful of the Quicksand Star Ocean. But he couldn't tell Shuekongzi all his secrets. They continued to chat for a while. Most of them were expressing their gratitude and compliments to Ningfan. Then, Shuekongzi and the others brought Ningfan back to the Quicksand clan. Currently, the Quicksand Galaxy was split into two. The northern region was controlled by the demons, while the southern region was the human race's refuge. The direction where Ningfan entered the Quicksand Star region was actually the border between the north and south regions. Everyone was flying towards the southern region. As for the specific direction, they would have to follow the direction of the star chart. As they went deeper into the southern region, they could no longer see the half-destroyed cultivation planets and the corpses of humans and beasts that filled the sky. Along the way, void fragmentation realm experts of the Demon Suppression Alliance would be patrolling. As soon as they saw Shuekongzi and the others, they immediately cupped their fists and saluted. Even though Ningfan and Shuekongzi concealed their life immortal realm aura force, their chi obviously belonged to the second step immortal realm. When the patrolling experts heard Shuekongzi say that Ningfan was a life immortal realm expert who came to join the Demon Suppression Alliance, they naturally would not question Ningfan's identity anymore. Their eyes were filled with admiration and respect when they looked at Ningfan. A second-step immortal realm expert was an existence that they could only hope to reach in their lifetime. One day later, they arrived at the main planet of the Quicksand Star region, Quicksand Planet. It was a high-grade cultivation planet. Looking from afar, it looked like a gigantic yellow fruit pit with an uneven surface. However, when they got closer, they could see that it was a cultivation planet that was mainly made of weathered mountains and rocks. There was hardly any vegetation on the entire planet. However, the Earth's spiritual chi there was not weak. This place was the most suitable for cultivating Earth elemental cultivation methods. As they approached the planet, Ning Fan could faintly feel a unique Tao essence from it. It was as if there was an invisible force that bathed Ning Fan's body when he entered the vicinity of the quicksand star. That force was the extremely weak power of time. It was the power of time that had weathered the entire quicksand star and changed its terrain. This quicksand clan can be considered as a large clan that has existed since ancient times. Even though the current clan leader of the quicksand clan only has an early truth-crossing realm cultivation base, and he couldn't make the clan famous in the Eastern Heaven, it was still a very powerful clan in ancient times. It is said that the progenitor of the quicksand clan was an ancient immortal venerable, who achieved his Tao in the quicksand star region. He once used a finger to deduce the passage of time, and weathered all the cultivation planets in the entire quicksand star region, drying up all the rivers, withering all the vegetation and turning the mountains into rubble. That divine ability did not destroy the star region. Instead, it made all the cultivation planets have Earth elemental energy, making them extremely suitable for cultivating Earth elemental cultivation methods. In the future, the quicksand clan declined generation after generation. There were no more outstanding individuals. The only outstanding individual was Taoist Quicksand, who had fallen 9 million years ago. He used a finger to reverse 10,000 years of time, and erased the 10,000 years of Tao of an immortal venerable. Shuekongzi explained the reason why the landform of the quicksand star was formed. When he talked about those peerless heroes who had passed away in the past, his usually arrogant eyes became humble and respectful. He admired those ancient heroes very much and wished that he could be born in the same generation as them. Weathering the entire star region with a finger, huh? Ning Fan raised his palm, and a trace of purple golden wind mist power quietly flowed between his fingers. The wind mist finger was activated with the power of samsara. The power of samsara was a supreme divine ability. Even an immortal emperor, who was at the peak of the second step, would not be able to peek into the power of samsara. This kind of power was far from what Ning Fan could control right now. As for the power of samsara, it included the power of time. The power of time was the power of time. It was the opposite of the power of space. Ning Fan fell into deep thought. He might not be able to comprehend the power of samsara, but it was not necessarily impossible for him to comprehend the power of time. If he could improve his comprehension of the Tao of time, and activate the wind mist finger with the power of time, he would probably be able to weather everything. Weathering was like a finger of quicksand. Aging was like a period of time. Perhaps the two words quicksand in the quicksand star region were worthy of this divine ability of time that could weather everything. After a few more introductions, Shuekongzi and the others brought Ning Fan to the quicksand star. Currently, the entire quicksand star was vast but sparsely populated. Other than the cultivators of the Alliance who were patrolling the place, there was almost no one else in sight. The prosperous cultivation city and trade city in the past had now become a dead and empty city. Everyone had been transferred to the hidden intermediate Kiliacosm on the quicksand star, the quicksand realm. Seeing Shuekongzi and the others entering the star, a group of cultivators wearing golden armor immediately flew towards them. This group of cultivators consisted of 20 people. Each of them was a life immortal realm expert. The leader of the group was an old man wearing golden armor, who was at the peak of the human profound realm. His expression was rather arrogant. "Commander Shue, didn't you bring some people to carry out a secret mission? Aren't you supposed to return after a few months? Why are you back so soon? Could it be that you failed the mission?" The old man's tone was a little cold. He could tell with just a glance that almost all of Shuekongzi's group were severely injured. When they set off, there were 20 life immortal realm experts in the team. Now only 8 of them had returned. Could it be that the remaining 12 had died? Wait. The eyes of the old man in golden armor suddenly fell on Ning Fan. Only then did he notice that Ning Fan was not one of the 20 people who were assigned to Xue Kongzi's group. Who is he? The old man's tone was full of questions. Great Commander Kunyan, report, Xue Kongzi sighed softly. Then he told the old man everything about how the team was ambushed, how they were hunted by a group of demons, and how they were rescued by Ning Fan. The golden-armored old man's Taoist name was Kuan Yunzi, and he was one of the 24 commanders of the Monster Exterminating League. The Demon Suppression Alliance had 4 Alliance Masters, 12 Vice Alliance Masters, 24 Great Commanders, 72 Commanders, more than 300 Life Immortal Experts and 200,000 Void Fragmentation Realm Experts. Xue Kongzi's status in the Alliance was lower than Kuan Yunzi's, so his tone was naturally very respectful. Kuan Yunzi was arrogant, and his cultivation and status were higher than Xue Kongzi, so he would naturally not be courteous to Xue Kongzi. When Kuan Yunzi first heard that Xue Kongzi had been ambushed, and that 13 Fate Immortals had died and 7 were injured, Kuan Yunzi was furious. He wanted nothing more than to charge Xue Kongzi with the crime of incompetent leadership. But after listening to the entire process of Xue Kongzi and the others being ambushed, Kuan Yunzi's anger gradually dissipated, and he started to frown. Xue Kongzi and the others being ambushed and almost annihilated did not seem to be an accident, nor was it Xue Kongzi's fault. Xue Kongzi and the others were carrying out a confidential mission. Very few people knew about their whereabouts. However, as soon as they left the territory of the southern region, they were ambushed by a group of demons. 13 of them died and 7 of them were injured. It seemed like their whereabouts had already been exposed long before Xue Kongzi and the others left the southern region. If that was the case, there were indeed spies of the demon race in the Quicksand clan. The group that was ambushed was not just Xue Kongzi's group. Knowing that the failure of the mission was not Xue Kongzi's fault, Kuan Yunzi's expression became much more relaxed. When he heard that Xue Kongzi and the others were rescued by Ning Fan alone, Kuan Yunzi's eyes carried a hint of doubt, and he looked at Ning Fan. With his peak mortal profound realm cultivation base, he could not see through Ning Fan's exact cultivation level. It was very hard for him to imagine that Ning Fan could actually kill 500 ferocious beasts all by himself. Fellow Taoist Ning, did you really kill 500 rogue immortal realm ferocious beasts and 22 life immortal realm ferocious beasts all by himself? Moreover, there was even an early ghost profound realm ferocious beast among those life immortal realm ferocious beasts? Kuan Yunzi looked at Ning Fan doubtfully. Yes. This fellow Taoist Ning indeed did it all by himself. Just as Xue Kongzi was about to tell Kuan Yunzi about Ning Fan's strength, a strong aura force suddenly swept across the place and interrupted Xue Kongzi's words. That aura force was released by Ning Fan. Under this aura force, the expressions of the 20 golden-armored life immortals including Kuan Yunzi changed greatly. They could not withstand Ning Fan's aura force at all. They took a few steps back before they could stabilize their bodies. Each of their expressions changed greatly. Early Ghost Profound Realm. This fellow Taoist Ning is actually a Ghost Profound Realm Life Immortal Realm expert. This man is indeed an early Ghost Profound Realm expert. However, I have never seen an early Ghost Profound Realm expert with such a powerful aura force. I'm afraid even a late Ghost Profound Realm expert wouldn't be able to have such a powerful aura force. Kuan Yunzi's arrogant expression had already been replaced by astonishment. After a long while, he finally realized that he had lost his composure at the moment. He hurriedly cupped his fists at Ning Fan and squeezed out an unnatural smile. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Ning to be a Ghost Profound Life Immortal. My apologies, my apologies. You're being too courteous, fellow Taoist Kunyan. Before I came to the Quicksand clan, fellow Taoist Xue Kongzi had already told me about fellow Taoist Kunyan's reputation. I heard that fellow Taoist Kunyan is proficient in the secret techniques of the Buddha sect. You once fought an early Ghost Profound Realm expert to a draw with your peak human Profound Realm cultivation base. If there's a chance, I would like to exchange a few moves with fellow Taoist Kunyan. Ning Fan said smilingly. On the way to Flowing Sand Planet, Xue Kongzi had already told Ning Fan all the information about the cultivators above the commander rank of the Demon Suppression Alliance. Hee, fellow Taoist Ning must be joking. This old man has always been very accurate in judging people. If I'm not mistaken, although fellow Taoist is at the early ghost mystic realm. Your magic power is already comparable to a late ghost mystic realm. Fellow Taoist's magic power is profound. I'm afraid I'm not your opponent. Kuan Yunzi's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He did not expect that Ning Fan actually knew something about him. Inwardly, he could not help but feel a little proud of himself. He smiled apologetically and did not dwell on this topic. Instead, he asked about the purpose of Ning Fan's visit. As soon as Kuan Yunzi heard that Ning Fan had the intention to enter the Flowing Sand Realm and join the Demon Suppression Alliance, he could not help but feel overjoyed. An expert like Ning Fan was of great significance to the Demon Suppression Alliance. Ning Fan's participation would be of great help to the Demon Suppression Alliance. Since fellow Taoist Ning has the intention to join the Demon Suppression Alliance, follow me and fellow Taoist Shui back to the Flowing Sand Realm. Fellow Taoist Shui's failure in the mission must be reported to the 4 Alliance Masters. Let's enter the Flowing Sand Realm now. As soon as he finished speaking, Kuan Yunzi took out a yellow token and struck it with a magic seal. Then he chanted some incantations. A few breaths later, a yellow oval-shaped light gate, that was about 100 zhang tall, suddenly appeared at the place where the weathered mountain rocks were. Inside the light gate was a realm of its own. It was the Flowing Sand Realm. Fellow Taoist Ning, this way please. As soon as Kuan Yunzi finished speaking, he ordered the other golden-armored cultivators to continue patrolling. Then he personally brought Ning Fan, Shui Kongzi and the others back to the Flowing Sand Realm. As soon as everyone entered the light gate, it disappeared. What they saw was a boundless golden desert. On this boundless desert, there were many sand cities built. Occasionally, there were also cone-shaped golden towers built on the desert. Outside those golden towers, there were usually sphinxes with solemn expressions. Inside the golden towers, the chi of death lingered without dispersing. It was as if some of the deceased had passed away in meditation in these golden towers. This is the past life tower of the Flowing Sand Clan. If the experts of the Flowing Sand Clan are close to death, they will return to this tower and pass away. This tradition is said to have started from the generation of the ancestors of the Flowing Sand Clan. Seeing that Ning Fan was curious about these golden towers, Kuan Yunzi and Shui Kongzi took turns to tell Ning Fan about the local customs and practices of the Flowing Sand Clan. As they flew across the desert, Ning Fan's group met many cultivators of the Demon Suppression Alliance. They also met many cultivators of the Flowing Sand Clan. Most of the cultivators of the Demon Suppression Alliance were not members of the Flowing Sand Clan. Instead, they were hired thugs by the Flowing Sand Clan. Their attire was no different from most of the cultivators of the Eastern Heaven. The attire of the members of the Flowing Sand Clan, on the other hand, was vastly different from the cultivators of the Eastern Heaven. Most of the male cultivators of the Flowing Sand Clan were used to being bare-chested. On their bodies, they usually wore golden ornaments which were usually inlaid with luxurious gems. The women of the Flowing Sand Clan liked to cover their faces with light veils. They also liked to wear golden ornaments. Compared to ordinary female cultivators of the Eastern Heaven, their attire was much bolder and unrestrained. They dared to expose their arms, calves and lower abdomen. Their skin was also not as fair as that of ordinary women. Instead, it carried a light bronze color. Even though their attire was different from the style of the Eastern Heaven, their words and actions were no different from the cultivators of the Eastern Heaven. As soon as they saw Kuan Yunzi and his group returning, all the cultivators along the way, regardless of whether they belonged to the Demon Suppression Alliance or the Flowing Sand Clan, would salute Kuan Yunzi and his group respectfully. In the depths of the desert, there was a huge golden city that occupied an area of tens of thousands of li. The 4 sides of the city gate were guarded by 2 ghost profound realm sphinx-faced beasts. They were not statues but living creatures. They were the unique guardian divine beasts of the Flowing Sand Clan. Only the Flowing Sand Clan possessed such strange beasts. However, there were not many of them. Currently, there were only 8 of them in the entire Flowing Sand Clan. Kuan Yunzi and his group came from the south. When they entered the huge golden city from the south gate, as soon as they saw Kuan Yunzi, Shui Kongzi and the others who were not members of the Flowing Sand Clan trying to enter the city, the 2 sphinx-faced beasts who were guarding the south gate revealed an arrogant expression. They let out a low roar as if they were disdainful towards them. Kuan Yunzi, Xue Kongzi and the others seemed to have long gotten used to the disdainful eyes of the sphinx-faced beasts. Thus their emotions did not fluctuate much. Ning Fan, on the other hand, raised his eyes slightly and gave the two sphinx-faced beasts an indifferent glance. He did not purposely activate the prestige of the demon ancestor's bloodline, nor did he purposely activate the aura force of his royal bloodline and divine bloodline. Just a calm look from him made the blood of the two sphinx-faced beasts boil for no reason. The way they looked at Ning Fan actually carried a hint of undetectable fear and respect. Then they slowly bent their knees and bowed to Ning Fan. Divine beasts, huh? If a demon beast cultivates the divine Tao, it can break away from its body and become a divine beast. Ning Fan looked at the two beasts with great interest. Then he entered the huge golden city. Behind him, Kuan Yunzi, Xue Kongzi and the other life immortal realm cultivators wore astonished expressions. Could it be that they were still dreaming? The sphinx-faced beasts who had always been arrogant actually knelt to Ning Fan. How could this be possible? One should know that even if they were facing the current clan leader of the Quicksand clan, these sphinx-faced beasts would not change their arrogant attitude, let alone kneeling to anyone. What kind of ability did Ning Fan use to actually make these sphinx-faced beasts submit to him? Fellow Taoist Ning, what happened just now? Kuan Yunzi, Xue Kongzi and the others asked doubtfully. Nothing happened just now. Ning Fan smiled and did not mention much about what happened just now. Seeing that Ning Fan did not want to talk about it, Kuan Yunzi, Xue Kongzi and the others also tactfully stopped asking. However, everyone felt that Ning Fan was becoming more and more unfathomable. Perhaps, the Quicksand clan had just received an incredibly strong reinforcement this time. With Kuan Yunzi leading the way, their journey into the huge golden city was almost unobstructed. Occasionally, some patrolling guards would ask them questions. However, when they heard that Ning Fan was a ghost profound realm expert who had come to join the Demon Extermination Alliance, none of them dared to stop Ning Fan and the others. At the center of the huge city, there was a cone-shaped golden palace. This palace used to be the place where the clan leader of the Quicksand clan cultivated in seclusion. Now it was the headquarters of the Demon Extermination Alliance. Kuan Yunzi led Xue Kongzi and the others into the Golden Palace. Ning Fan, on the other hand, waited outside the Golden Palace for the four leaders to summon him. Since Xue Kongzi's team was ambushed, they needed to report it first. Only then could they mention Ning Fan joining the alliance to the four leaders. Before the four leaders summoned him, Ning Fan could only wait patiently outside the Golden Palace. He was not in a hurry. Instead, he quietly spread his spirit sense to search for the clan temple of the Quicksand clan in the huge city. However, he did not find the clan temple in the Quicksand clan. Instead, he spread his spirit sense out of the huge golden city and spread it to the boundless desert. Even though the Quicksand realm was just a damaged medium-class world, it was extremely vast. Even if Ning Fan used the heaven-peering rain technique, he would not be able to see through the entire medium-class world with a single technique. Now Ning Fan did not use the rain technique. Instead, he was just using his spirit sense to search for the location of the clan temple. Thus, the range of his search was naturally very small. He did not use the rain technique to search for the clan temple. If he uses the rain technique rashly in the Quicksand realm where it rarely rained, it would probably arouse the vigilance of the experts of the Quicksand clan. Knowing that he would not be able to find the clan temple of the Quicksand clan in a short period of time, Ning Fan temporarily put aside the matter of stealing the Joss flames, and began to observe the local customs and practices of the Quicksand clan. The women of the Quicksand clan dressed boldly, but they were very conservative. Occasionally, some female cultivators of the Quicksand clan would admire Ning Fan when they saw his handsome appearance. However, they did not dare to strike up a conversation with him rashly. Instead, they only dared to peek at Ning Fan from afar while feeling shy. On the other hand, there were a few female cultivators of the alliance who took the initiative to strike up a conversation with Ning Fan after noticing his extraordinary bearing. However, they were all sent away by Ning Fan with a few words. 2 hours passed. Kuan Yunzi and the others still had not left the palace. 4 hours had passed and Ning Fan was still waiting outside the palace. After witnessing the local customs and practices of the Quicksand clan, Ning Fan closed his eyes and sensed the Tao sense of the power of time in the Quicksand realm. Elegance is like a finger of quicksand. Age is a period of time. If I can comprehend the power of time and use it to activate the wind mist finger, this finger will certainly become my trump card again. At this moment, Ning Fan's heart was strangely quiet. The clamor of the mortal world gradually faded away. Only the hissing sound of wind and sand blowing across the desert remained in his ears. He seemed to be able to hear the sound of some ancient rocks standing tall on the desert being weathered into sand bit by bit. A finger of quicksand is a period of time. What really causes the rocks to be weathered is not wind but time. What really causes the rocks to decay is only time. Time is time. At this moment, Ning Fan's heart gradually merged with the entire quicksand realm. A trace of the blood of time in his body suddenly became scorching hot and fervent. A trace of the Tao power of time was slowly taking shape on his body. At the crucial moment when he was comprehending the Tao, an extremely unpleasant voice broke Ning Fan's tranquil state of mind and pulled him back from his state of comprehension. "You are Ning Fan." Ning Fan opened his eyes. His gaze was slightly cold. He turned around and said indifferently, "May I know who you are?" The one who spoke was a group of male cultivators who were bare-chested. There were a total of 20 of them, and the weakest among them was at the life immortal realm. The leader of the group was a late ghost profound realm cultivator. These people were bare-chested. Judging from their attire, they should be members of the Quicksand clan. However, these people were also wearing the unique badge of the Alliance on their bodies. In other words, these people were not only members of the Quicksand clan, but also cultivators of the Alliance. The late ghost profound realm cultivator was a bald burly man who was wearing a pair of earrings made of pure gold. The way he looked at Ning Fan was filled with judgment and indifference. Underneath that indifference, there was actually a trace of hatred. Hatred? What kind of hatred did he have against Ning Fan? Even though this trace of hatred was deeply hidden, it could not hide from Ning Fan's eyes. Ning Fan's eyes became even colder. He knew that this person did not come with good intentions. However, he did not know when he had offended this person. After hearing Ning Fan asking about his identity, the bald burly man only curled his lips into a cold smile. He did not answer Ning Fan's question. Instead, he said in an unfriendly tone, "Since you don't know me, it seems like I didn't find the wrong person. I'm an elder of the Quicksand clan La Lu. Of course, I also have another identity, which is the vice leader of the Demon Extermination Alliance. I heard that you want to join the Demon Extermination Alliance, and even want to fight for the position of vice leader." Ning Fan did not answer La Lu's question. His frown deepened, and he turned around to leave. This person was obviously looking for trouble at first glance. The reason why Ning Fan came to the Quicksand realm was to steal the Joss Flames. Before that, he did not want to get involved in other troubles. Seeing that Ning Fan dared to ignore him, La Lu's eyes turned gloomy. The hatred in his eyes intensified and he said coldly, "Are you trying to run away?" According to the rules of the Demon Extermination Alliance, there can only be 12 vice leaders at most. If you really want to join the Alliance and become the vice leader, you need to push one of them down and take away his position. Ning Fan, do you dare to make a bet with me? If you can defeat me by 1 or 2 moves, I will give you the position of vice leader. If you can't even take 1 move from me, then you deserve to die." Ning Fan's eyes turned even colder. However, he did not stop his footsteps. Even though he did not like La Lu's way of doing things and his character, he would not go so far as to kill someone just because of his provocation. Cultivation base was not meant to be used to bully the weak. "Humph! How dare you ignore me? You're courting death. All of you, attack together. Take this young man down and wait for my punishment." As soon as La Lu gave the order, the 19 life immortals of the Quicksand clan behind him immediately turned into 19 rays of golden light. With a flash, they surrounded Ning Fan. Without any unnecessary words, the 19 life immortals activated their secret techniques at the same time. All of them shone with golden light. Extremely strong true yang light rose from their bodies and it was dazzling. The true yang light turned into a dazzling golden grand formation, trapping Ningfan within it. The 19 life immortals waved their hands, and the golden light condensed into a gigantic golden sword. They held it in their palms and slashed at Ningfan, who was trapped in the formation. The 19 powerful auras instantly spread across the entire Golden City. Even in some of the sand cities that were far away from the city, many people could sense the auras of the 19 life immortals. This true Yang power. There's no mistaking it. It's the Golden Guards of the Quicksand clan. They are bullying the cultivators of the Alliance again. In the Golden City, many cultivators of the Alliance frowned and said, among the 19 life immortals, 7 of them were at the early human profound realm, 5 of them were at the mid-human profound realm, 3 of them were at the late human profound realm, and 3 of them were at the peak human profound realm. 1 of them was at the early ghost profound realm. These 19 people belonged to the Golden Guards of the Quicksand clan. They listened to the command of the leader of the Golden Guards, La Lu. La Lu had always hated the cultivators of the Alliance. He always bullied them with his identity as a member of the Quicksand clan. The Demon Suppression Alliance was a force that the clan leader of the Quicksand clan had recruited. In the Alliance, the members of the Quicksand clan had a special status. Ordinary people would not dare to offend them. Putting aside La Lu's special identity as an elder of the Quicksand clan, and his identity as the vice leader of the Alliance, not many people would dare to offend him with his late ghost profound realm cultivation base. Even if they were unlucky and were bullied by La Lu, they could only swallow their anger. Sensing that the Golden Guards under La Lu were stirring up trouble in the city, many cultivators of the Alliance guessed that La Lu was going to deal with them again. Most of them sent their spirit sense to observe the situation, but no one dared to help Ningfan. No one would offend La Lu for the sake of a stranger like Ningfan. From their point of view, Ningfan would be severely injured even if he did not die after being besieged by 19 life immortal realm cultivators. All of you have crossed the line. The cold light in Ningfan's eyes reached its peak. Even though he did not like to cause trouble, he was not afraid of it either. Ningfan sneered and took a step forward. The aura force of an early ghost profound realm cultivator swept across the place. The entire Golden City immediately shook violently. An unimaginable destructive force came from beneath Ningfan's feet. Countless cracks appeared on the ground. Countless houses collapsed under his stomp. Countless cultivators escaped from the collapsed houses in a miserable manner. They looked at Ningfan in shock and exclaimed, "That's right. That's right. Early ghost profound realm. This man is actually a ghost profound life immortal." Under that destructive force, the true Yang Grand Formation instantly shattered into pieces of golden light. The expressions of the 19 life immortal realm cultivators changed. However, they still slashed at the golden swords in their hands. Ningfan raised his head and laughed. His eyes looked like a devil, and his black hair danced wildly in the air. With a wave of his hand, 19 gigantic palm imprints that were condensed from magic power were sent flying. The 19 golden swords shattered into golden light and disappeared. As for the 19 life immortal realm Golden Guards, they were all sent flying away by the palm imprints. The 18 life immortal realm cultivators were instantly killed by the palm imprints. Their bodies exploded into blood mist. Only the early ghost profound realm life immortal realm cultivator managed to block the palm imprints. The fear in his heart reached its peak in an instant. He had used all of his strength to block Ningfan's casual palm imprint. How could he not see that Ningfan did not use any extra abilities in that palm imprint? It was just a palm imprint that was condensed by Ningfan's powerful magic power. Moreover, the palm imprint was divided into 19 parts. Each of the palm imprints was not as strong as before. Even so, he was the only one among the 19 gold guards who did not die under the palm imprint. Ningfan's strength was far beyond his imagination. Ningfan's ferocity was also far beyond his imagination. A life immortal realm cultivator, who had yet to join the Demon Extermination Alliance, actually dared to kill 18 gold guards in public in Flowing Sand Realm. He was really bold and arrogant. After seeing Ningfan kill 18 people with a single palm imprint, he actually raised his hand again and sent another palm imprint at him. The early ghost profound realm cultivator was filled with fear. He turned around and fled towards the bald man while shouting in panic. Elder La Lu, save me. At this moment, La Lu's eyes were filled with astonishment. He did not expect Ning Fan to actually have such great strength. No wonder Ning Fan could save Xue Kongzi and the others and kill all of his beloved demons. So that's why, is he actually such a strong person? Even though he's just an early Ghost Profound Realm cultivator, his combat power is comparable to a late Ghost Profound Realm cultivator. After recovering from his shock, La Lu's eyes flashed with ruthlessness again. Ning Fan first killed 500 of his demon beast subordinates, and then annihilated 18 of his gold guards. This was really unforgivable. With a flash, La Lu appeared beside the early Ghost Profound Realm cultivator in a single step. He stood in front of him and stared at Ning Fan coldly. Today you must die. You? Ning Fan said coldly. Suddenly, he raised his hand and summoned a ray of dark golden sword light. At the moment when the sword light appeared, a sense of extreme danger rose in La Lu's heart, causing his expression to change drastically. I'm not going to separate anymore. There's no more updates. Let's wash up and sleep. Chapter 767. That dark golden sword light was Ning Fan's Dao weapon, memory-severing Dao sword. With Ning Fan's magic power, which was comparable to a late Ghost Profound Realm expert, almost no late Ghost Profound Realm expert could withstand the power of this sword. The moment the sword appeared, Raru was not the only one who felt a sense of danger. His expression changed drastically. The expressions of countless cultivators who were watching the battle in the giant Golden City also changed drastically. All of them could see how powerful Ning Fan's Dao weapon was. Without any hesitation, Raru's eyes turned cold. He grabbed the early Ghost Profound Realm subordinate behind him and threw him towards the incoming dark golden sword light. Just now he was acting like he was standing up for his subordinate. Now that he was facing a life-and-death situation, he actually used his subordinate as a shield without any hesitation. That early Ghost Profound Realm Huang Jinwei did not expect that he would be used as a shield by Elder Raru. He was thrown towards the dark golden sword light by Raru like a sandbag. The dark golden sword light flashed and turned into 108,000 illusory black swords, slashing at the early Ghost Profound Realm Huang Jinwei's face. The illusory scenes blinded his eyes, evoking the most painful memories in his heart. In his memories, he vaguely saw the person whom he felt the most guilty towards in his life walking towards him step by step and beheading him with a sword, instantly killing an early Ghost Profound Realm expert. At this moment, countless cultivators exclaimed at the same time. They were shocked by the power of the memory-severing Dao sword. After killing the early Ghost Profound Realm Huang Jinwei, Ning Fan flicked his finger. 108,000 illusory sword light flashed and blocked all of Raru's escape routes. With a flick of his sleeve, he collected all the primordial spirits of the 19 Huang Jinwei and searched their souls and memories. He just hurriedly looked through their memories. There was nothing wrong with their memories. After killing these primordial spirits with a secret technique, he temporarily sealed them in his soul pouch and used the soul blast technique in the future. After taking away all the storage pouches of the 19 Huang Jinwei, he calmly looked at Raru, who was trapped in the sword formation. Raru was not a weakling. Even when he was trapped in the illusory sword formation, he did not get killed instantly by the illusory swords. He was very sensitive to danger, and he was very decisive in his actions. As soon as he saw the power of the memory-severing Dao sword, he used his subordinate as a shield without hesitation. Unfortunately, his strength was still weaker than Ning Fan's. Even though he was not killed by the illusory sword formation, he was trapped by the illusory swords, he was still unable to escape. Seeing more and more illusory swords, Raru gritted his teeth. He patted his storage pouch and took out a jade slip. Then he muttered to himself as he loudly reprimanded Yi Zichen. Forbidden technique, Divine Sun Mirror. The moment his voice fell, countless rays of golden light flowed out from the jade slip fragments and condensed into a divine mirror artifact a meter above his head, radiating a dazzling golden light like the sun. A golden divine light swept out from the divine mirror, carrying with it the power of a peak spirit Xian expert. With the sweep of the divine light, the 108,000 illusory swords immediately began to burn under the sunlight and dissipated into smoke. In just the blink of an eye, all the illusory swords were destroyed. The true form of the memory-severing Dao sword appeared. After being struck by the golden light, it let out a clanging sound and flew back to Ningfan's hand. This is the Quicksand clan's forbidden technique, Jade Scroll. Every member of the Quicksand clan has a chance to obtain a jade slip from the clan's temple once in their lifetime. It can be used as a life-saving trump card. I didn't expect Raru to be forced into such a desperate situation. He even used the only jade slip he had. Some cultivators exclaimed, "The jade slip of Quicksand clan?" Ningfan frowned. If Raru didn't use the jade slip at the critical moment, he certainly wouldn't be able to survive the illusory sword formation. After the divine mirror of sun above his head attacked, it turned into golden light and disappeared. Raru's expression was extremely unpleasant. After Ningfan revealed his strength, he was very sure that he was no match for Ningfan. There was only one jade slip. He probably wouldn't be able to survive Ningfan's next attack. Admittedly, he wasn't a match for Ningfan alone. However, if he gathered all the members of the Quicksand clan in the city and besieged Ningfan, he might not necessarily lose. Where are the divine beasts that guard the city? Quickly come with me and kill this bastard. As soon as Raru finished speaking, he took out a golden flute and blew it. The 8 gigantic beasts that were guarding the city gate immediately turned into 8 rays of divine light and flew towards the center of the golden city. Get lost. Ningfan's eyes turned sharp. He glanced at the 8 beasts. His eyes contained an unimaginable aura force that pressed down on the 8 beasts. Other than the 8 beasts, no one else knew about it. It was the aura force that came from the fusion of the ancestral blood of the Fuli clan and the divine Rain King blood. Divine beasts were the product of the fusion of the demon race and the divine race. They were restrained by the 2 types of aura force at the same time. Thus, they couldn't resist Ningfan's aura force at all. The 8 sphinx-faced beasts were startled. They suddenly fell from the sky and crashed into the city, destroying houses one after another. Then, they crawled on the ground and trembled. Each of the old monsters was shocked. They could not imagine why the sphinx-faced beasts who had always been arrogant would show such a terrified expression in front of Ningfan. How is this possible? Even if the sphinx-faced beasts die, they won't lower their heads to anyone, let alone show fear. Why would they be afraid of you? La Lu's expression changed drastically. He gritted his teeth and roared at the sky again. Elder Lei Tu, Elder Wu Sun, Elder Aimo, quickly lend me a hand and kill this monster. After that, I'm willing to give you 12 red essence stones as a reward. 12 red essence stones. 3 voices immediately resounded from the Golden City. They were secretly shocked by the generous reward that La Lu promised. There were also members of the Quicksand clan among the spectators in the Golden City. However, none of them were willing to help La Lu. However, as soon as La Lu offered the red essence stones as the reward, 3 late Ghost Profound Realm old monsters immediately flew towards him from 3 different directions. Together with La Lu, they surrounded Ningfan. The 3 of them decided to help La Lu for the sake of the red essence stones. The 3 of them were half naked with golden ornaments on their bodies. They were the elders of the Quicksand clan. Another identity was that they were one of the 12 alliance masters of the Demon Suppression Alliance. La Lu, to be honest, I can't stand your actions against the cultivators of the Alliance. However, for the sake of the red essence stones, I'll help you today and kill this arrogant bastard. Elder Lei Tu, who was short and small, sneered. This young man has not officially joined the Demon Suppression Alliance, but he already dared to kill the cultivators of my Quicksand clan. Based on this, killing him 100 times won't be enough. Wu Sun had a skinny body. His sunken eyes were filled with cold killing intent. 12 red essence stones, huh? Each of us can get 4 of them. If I can get 4 more red essence stones, the true yang power in my body will increase by a lot. In at most 1,000 years, I can certainly break through to the mid-ghost profound realm. Elder Aimo's eyes were filled with greed. Seeing that there were 3 late ghost profound realm experts helping him, La Lu gradually regained his confidence. He smiled coldly and pointed at Ningfan. Kill him. As soon as La Lu's voice fell, Lei Tu and the others immediately took action. They displayed a golden secret technique and attacked Ningfan. La Lu himself also displayed a golden divine ability. The divine abilities of the four of them were closely related to the true Yang power. Even a peak ghost profound realm expert might not be able to withstand the joint attack of the four of them. Even though he was besieged by four late ghost profound realm experts, he did not show any fear. His eyes swept across the direction of the Golden Palace thoughtfully. The momentum of him killing the Golden Guards could not be concealed at all. Perhaps the four leaders of the Demon Suppression Alliance in the Golden Palace had already known about the changes in the outside world. However, up until now none of the four leaders had come to stop the battle. Were these people tacitly approving of the actions of La Lu and the others, or were they afraid of his strength and did not dare to stop them? The four killing secret techniques were getting closer and closer. The cold light in his eyes also became colder and fiercer. When he took a step forward, the earth gave birth to a lead lotus and the lotus transformed into 1,000,000 shadows. With the protection of 1,000,000 lotus shadows, even an early true immortal might not be able to break the defense of the lotus shadows that covered the sky. Boom, 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 boom. The four secret techniques only caused faint ripples on the lotus shadow barrier. They could not break the defense of the lotus shadows at all. It's an ancient divine technique, the three flowers converging prominence. This kid has actually cultivated this technique to the great perfection of the first flower. If that's the case. Suddenly, the surprised voice of an old man resounded from the Golden Palace. The one who spoke was an early true crossing realm patriarch of the Quicksand clan. The three flowers converging prominence technique was not a rare technique in the Eastern Heaven immortal world. However, only a few people could successfully cultivate it, and even fewer people could cultivate it to the great perfection of the first flower. In the Golden City, countless old monsters recognized the three flowers converging prominence technique that Ningfan displayed. All of them were dumbfounded. Although there were many old monsters in this place, none of them had seen the great perfection of the first flower. Three flowers converging prominence. At this moment, Ningfan was protected by 1,000,000 lead lotus shadows. Even an early true crossing realm true immortal might not be able to hurt him. Although Ningfan's current cultivation base was only at the early ghost profound realm, with the help of the three flowers converging prominence technique, he was already invincible in battles below the true crossing realm. Seeing that their joint attack could not hurt Ningfan at all, the expressions of Raru and the other three elders of the Quicksand clan changed drastically. At the next moment, Ningfan flicked his finger. 108,000 illusory swords sealed the vast sky, trapping the four elders within the sword formation. The expressions of Raru and the others changed. They had already witnessed the power of the memory-severing Dao sword. How would they dare to be careless? The three elders, Lei Tu, Wu Sun and Aimo, took out their life-saving trump cards, the jade slips of forbidden techniques, and crushed them one by one. Forbidden technique, flame-killing sword. Forbidden technique, earth drawing as yang. Forbidden technique, true yang armor. Elder Lei Tu summoned a gigantic sword that was condensed from golden flames. With a single slash, he broke the illusory sword formation. His face was filled with terror as he fled towards the Golden Palace. He knew that his patriarch was in the Golden Palace. However, he could not understand why his patriarch did not stand up for his clansmen after Ningfan killed the Golden Guards and attacked them. Instead, he was watching everything coldly from the Golden Palace. At this moment, Lei Tu was deeply convinced that even if he joined forces with Raru and the others, they would still not be a match for Ningfan. However, the defense of Ningfan's three flowers was not something they could break. Lei Tu escaped from the illusory sword formation, but Wu Sun and Aimo were not as lucky. The forbidden technique jade slips that they obtained from the clan temple were all defensive abilities. At most, they could protect them from the sword formation for the time being. However, they could not help them kill their way out of the sword formation. Raru was even more unlucky. He had already used up his trump card. The current him could not resist the destructive power of the memory-severing Dao sword with his current strength. Scenes of illusions appeared in front of his eyes. In the depths of those illusions, he saw memories of the past. For a certain secret that he could not tell others, he had killed countless cultivators of the Alliance. Those cultivators of the Alliance who had died tragically turned into walking corpses. They held dark golden longswords in their hands and surrounded him. There was no way to escape. An illusory sword light pierced through Raru's dantian. A blood-curdling scream reverberated throughout the entire Golden City. However, it soon weakened and disappeared. Raru had fallen. Elder Lei Tu, who had just escaped from the Golden Palace, heard Raru's blood-curdling scream. He knew that Raru was already dead. The fear in his heart grew stronger, and he ran even faster. In just a blink of an eye, he had already reached the entrance of the Golden Palace. He stood outside the sealed door and said, "Clan leader, save me." In the entire Quicksand clan, other than the clan leader and a few peak Ghost Realm experts who had yet to return to the clan, there were only 4 late Ghost Realm experts left to guard the Quicksand world. If the clan leader of the Quicksand clan did not save them, no one would be able to save their lives from Ningfan's hands today. Little friend, when it is possible to let people go, one should spare them. A voice that was neither happy nor angry came from the Golden Palace. Then the door of the Golden Palace slowly opened. That voice came from the clan leader of the Quicksand clan. That voice seemed to be instigating Ningfan to spare the lives of Lei Tu and the others. As soon as he saw the golden door open and heard the clan leader's words, Lei Tu was overjoyed. He thought that his life would certainly be saved. In Lei Tu's point of view, no matter how strong Ningfan was, he was just an early Ghost Realm expert. No matter how bold he was, he would not dare to kill anyone after old monster Duzhen had spoken. Just as this thought rose in his mind, he suddenly felt that the scenery in front of him was changing rapidly. He felt as if he was flying high up in the sky. When he shifted his gaze downwards, he saw his headless corpse lying on the ground with blood gushing out like a fountain. Chi. A ray of dark golden sword light gave out a clear sound and slashed at Lei Tu's neck. A dark golden illusory sword appeared in Ningfan's hand out of nowhere. He cut off Lei Tu's head with a single slash. That dark golden illusory sword was one of the swords that Ningfan had casually taken out from the 108,000 sword formation. At the moment when Lei Tu lost his life, 2 miserable shrieks came from the sword formation one after another. Even though the 2 elders, Wu Sun and Aimo, could survive for some time in the illusory sword formation with the help of the jade slips that contained the forbidden technique, they could not last for too long. At this moment, they still lost their lives. The corpses and storage pouches of the 4 elders were all taken away by Ningfan. After the 3 elders' primordial spirits were destroyed by Ningfan, they were sealed with a secret technique and kept in their soul pouches temporarily. They could only be used to perform the Spirit Blast technique after the secret technique was refined. The sword formation dispersed. Ningfan held La Lu's primordial spirit in his hand and searched his soul and memory mercilessly. He wanted to see why La Lu would harbor hatred towards him. The entire Golden City fell into dead silence after Ningfan killed the 4 elders of the Quicksand clan in a row. No one expected Ningfan to be so bold as to kill 19 Golden Guards and 4 elders of the Quicksand clan in a row. No one expected Ningfan's strength to be so strong. He was almost invincible below the Duzhen realm. No one expected that Ningfan would actually continue to kill the members of the Quicksand clan, even after the clan leader had given the order. With a loud bang, the sealed door of the Golden Palace was completely opened. A skinny old man with mottled white hair and a bare upper body walked out of the Golden Palace step by step. He stared at Ningfan with a cold gaze. Even if you are a disciple of the Slaughter Palace, and even if you have the Spirit Blast technique as your trump card, you still have to give me an explanation today. This skinny old man had a golden pupil on his forehead. He was holding a golden scepter with the pattern of a cobra in his hand. Every time he took a step, a footprint that was burning with golden flames would appear on the ground. There was a scorching power of the great Tao in his body that was as hot as the sun. He was the clan leader of the Quicksand clan Mutu. Behind him were 3 early Duzhen Realm True Immortal Realm Old Monsters. They were the other 3 True Immortal Realm Alliance, Lords of the Demon Suppression Alliance. All of them looked like they were watching a good show. Behind the 3 True Immortal Realm experts were Kuan Yunzi, Shuekongzi and a few other Life Immortal Realm experts. All of them were looking at Ningfan as if he was a monster. Kuan Yunzi and Xue Kongzi already knew Ning Fan's true identity. The clan leader of the Quicksand clan had personally told them about it. After the clan leader pointed out Ning Fan's identity as a disciple of the Slaughter Palace and a cultivator of the Spirit Blast technique, countless old monsters in the Golden City guessed Ning Fan's identity. They were so shocked that they could not speak a word. He is the Ning Fan who had massacred the entire Yaosek Star region and entered the Slaughter Palace. The Devil Lord who has learned the Spirit Blast technique and is unstoppable in the Eastern Heaven. Even Du Zhen would avoid him when he sees him. Ning Fan's eyes turn cold. The clan leader of the Quicksand clan, Mu Tu, gave him tremendous pressure. If Ning Fan does not use his trump cards and uses his own strength to fight Mu Tu, his chances of winning would not be more than 10%. Even though he had already cultivated the first flower of the three flowers converging prominence technique to the great perfection stage, it was still impossible for him to defeat a true Immortal Realm expert with just this technique. Fortunately, he had many trump cards with him. Thus he was not afraid of Mu Tu. With just the ancient devil puppet, he could go anywhere he wanted today. No one could stop him or make him stay. I wonder what kind of explanation clan leader Mu Tu wants from me. Ning Fan searched through La Lu's memories and frowned. Then he relaxed his brows and said without changing his expression. He destroyed and sealed La Lu's primordial spirit. From La Lu's memories, he only knew that the reason why La Lu hated him was related to him saving Xue Kongzi and the others. Before Ning Fan could search through his memories, La Lu's memories had already been destroyed by the restriction formation in La Lu's Sea of Consciousness. Inside La Lu's Sea of Consciousness, there was a destructive restriction formation. Once someone searches his soul and memories, all of La Lu's memories would be destroyed. Ning Fan did not find out the reason why La Lu hated him. However, he had a stronger feeling that his trip to the Quicksand clan was not as simple as he had imagined. Take one of my attacks or die. The golden eye on Mu Tu's forehead flashed. An unimaginable true yang power turned into surging golden flames and condensed into a gigantic fist made of golden flames. Then he threw a punch at Ning Fan's head. The power of this punch was enough to instantly kill any cultivator below the true immortal realm. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. Just as he was about to summon the ancient devil puppet to teach the Quicksand clan a painful lesson, all of a sudden, his eyes flashed unnoticeably. He seemed to have noticed something unusual about this clan leader Mu Tu. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. He temporarily gave up on the idea of summoning the ancient devil puppet, and said with a cold smile, "All right, let me have a taste of your powerful techniques." The boundless darkness of the night suddenly descended. The Big Dipper constellation appeared above the night sky. Dao image appear. 7 layers of palm imprints were slowly fusing into one on Ning Fan's palm. The 5-colored medicine soul gave Ning Fan an unusually strong sense of perception. If Ning Fan was not mistaken, this Mu Tu had concealed his cultivation base. He was not at the early True Crossing realm. Rumor has it that the clan leader of the Quicksand clan, Mu Tu, had failed to attain his Dao attainment, leaving behind a serious injury in his Dao heart. Even though he had used a secret technique to break through to the early True Crossing realm, he would never be able to break through to the early True Crossing realm in his lifetime. Today, the truth that Ning Fan saw was actually different from the rumors. Either Mu Tu had deceived the world, or this person was not Mu Tu at all. His true cultivation base was at the early Shedding Void realm. His strength was almost on par with the ancient devil puppet. Chapter 768. After knowing Mu Tu's true strength, Ning Fan did not plan to act rashly and summoned the ancient devil puppet. The situation in the Quicksand Starfield was more complicated than he had imagined. Originally, he had guessed that this demon tide was a conspiracy by the Quicksand clan. Now it seemed that the entire Quicksand clan was also part of this conspiracy. Raru, on the other hand, seemed to be an insignificant character in this conspiracy. Unable to kill the enemy in one fell swoop, it would not be wise to reveal his trump card. Ning Fan had his own purpose while Mu Tu had his own plan. Due to certain reasons, Mu Tu could not reveal his true cultivation base and divine arts. He did not want to expose his identity. He also did not intend to expose the existence of the ancient devil puppet before killing Mu Tu in a single strike. Mutu seemed to have exerted all of his strength in that attack. That punch was filled with extreme fury. However, in reality, he was not angry because Ning Fan had killed the members of the Quicksand clan. Instead, it was because Ning Fan had cultivated the first ring of the 3 flowers to the Great Perfection realm. His true identity was not Mutu, he had merely possessed Mutu's body. He was not the chief of the Quicksand tribe, so why would he care about the life and death of the Quicksand tribe? The destructive power of this punch was enough to break through Ning Fan's 3 flowers converging prominence defense and slightly injure him. His current identity was the leader of the Quicksand tribe. In front of everyone's eyes, he had to put on a good show. He had to attack Ning Fan and teach him a lesson in order to appease the criticism of the members of the Quicksand clan. However, he didn't want to kill Ning Fan because Ning Fan's first flower was still useful to him. It wasn't a big or small use. This punch only exerted the power of an early truth-crossing realm attack, but it was enough to severely injure Ning Fan's. In the eyes of others, the power of that punch was too terrifying. It was more than enough to kill Ning Fan 10 times over. Of course, according to what Mutu knew, Ning Fan still had a trump card called the Spirit Blast technique. At the same time, Mutu put his hand on his storage bag. There was a golden jade slip inside the storage pouch. Sealed inside the jade slip was the forbidden technique of the Peak of Crossing Truth realm. It was Zhen Muta's life-saving jade slip. Ever since he, the fake Mutu, possessed the real Mutu, this life-saving jade slip followed him. He had already decided that if Ning Fan uses the Spirit Blast technique, he would use this jade slip to resist it. With the number of primordial spirits in Ning Fan's soul pouch, the destructive power of the soul blasting technique was rather terrifying. If he didn't have this jade slip, he would have to reveal his true cultivation to block the soul blast art. If he wasn't forced into a desperate situation, he didn't want to expose his true cultivation and divine abilities. Otherwise, he would attract a terrifying calamity. Ning Fan did not rely on the Spirit Blast technique to defend against his attack. He did not even use the 3 flowers converging prominence technique. This was out of Mutu's expectation. When Ning Fan displayed the strange phenomenon of his Devil Knight transformation, and his Dao transformation into the Big Dipper star transformation, and condensed the heaven-holding imprint, Mutu's eyes narrowed. For the first time, he realized that he had actually underestimated this junior. Because of Ning Fan's Dao image, the entire Golden City was temporarily shrouded in darkness. Facing the incoming gigantic fist made of golden flames, Ning Fan pondered deeply. Then he flipped his palm and sent out the heaven-holding seal horizontally. The golden flame fist and the black and white palm collided, causing the entire flowing sand world to shake violently. The heaven-holding seal was already Ning Fan's strongest ability at the moment. However, it was only on par with the gigantic golden flame fist. The shockwaves from the clash of spells turned into strong gales that swept through the entire flowing sand realm. The dark night dispersed and the Big Dipper disappeared. Yellow sand filled the entire sky. Ning Fan retreated tens of steps in the violent gales before he could stabilize his body. As for Mutu, he only retreated 10 steps. Ning Fan frowned. It was his first time witnessing the huge gap between him and a cultivator of the Dujin realm. Even though Mutu had concealed his cultivation base, the power of his punch was truly at the early Dujin realm. Ning Fan's heaven-holding seal had consumed half of his magic power. Now he could only barely remain undefeated in a head-on collision with an early Dujin realm cultivator. If he wanted to defeat an early Dujin realm cultivator, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens unless he succeeded in launching a sneak attack. Ning Fan was very dissatisfied with the result of this collision. However, in the eyes of others, it was already very heaven-defying for Ning Fan to be able to forcefully withstand Mutu's palm imprint and remain undefeated. Which early Ghost Realm cultivator could withstand the attack of an early Dujin Realm cultivator with their own abilities? Other than Ning Fan, there was probably no one else who could do this. For a moment, the entire Golden City fell into dead silence. Even the 3 Alliance lords who were just watching the show wore a solemn expression. Ning Fan's strength had exceeded their expectations. He could almost be regarded as the Dujin Realm cultivator. Moreover, as far as they knew, Ning Fan still had countless primordial spirits and the Spirit Blast technique as his trump card. I wonder how Mutu will deal with this young man. This young man isn't someone to be trifled with. But if he forgives this young man for killing the members of the Quicksand clan, I'm afraid that Mutu won't be able to put down his pride. The three true immortals were thinking about Mutu's thoughts. At this moment, Mutu's expression changed. He put away his original angry expression and cupped his fists at Ning Fan coldly. I'm the patriarch of the Quicksand clan, Mutu. I heard that you wanted to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance and help us eliminate the demons. Is that true? Am I still qualified to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance with my current strength? Ning Fan's eyes turned cold as he examined Mutu's day. Why are you not qualified? You followed Kuan Yunzi, Xue Kongzi and the others to Quicksand Realm, and you didn't cause any trouble in this realm. If it wasn't for Raru and the others who were unreasonable and attacked you without your permission, why would you make such a big fuss in Quicksand Realm? As the patriarch of the Quicksand clan, I have to seek justice for my clansmen. That's why I attacked you. However, after this attack, I won't touch you again. Logically speaking, the fault lies with Raru and the others. What does it have to do with you? I'm not an unreasonable person. If you are willing to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance, I will certainly not stop you. As soon as Mutu's voice fell, the cultivators in the city burst into an uproar. No one expected that after Ning Fan killed many experts of the Quicksand clan, not only did he not fight to the death with them, but he also received a personal invitation from the patriarch of the Quicksand clan to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance. Even Ning Fan was slightly stunned. When he looked at Mutu again, his eyes were filled with inexplicable emotions. What if I don't want to join the alliance? If you hold a grudge against my Quicksand clan because of what happened today and you really don't want to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance, I certainly won't force you to stay. Mutu's eyes turned cold and answered. There was no threat in his words. However, Ning Fan could hear a hint of a threat in them. It was as if Mutu would do something unfriendly to him if he did not know how to appreciate his kindness. If I agree to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance, what position do you think I can get with my strength? Ning Fan probed again. Raru and the other 3 vice leaders died in your hands. You can choose one of the 4 vice leaders. As soon as Mutu said that, many cultivators in the Golden City looked at Ning Fan enviously. Before Ning Fan joined the Demon Exterminating Alliance, Mutu had already promised Ning Fan the position of vice leader. Such a generous treatment was really rare. I want the position of the alliance leader, Ning Fan said indifferently. Mutu's expression darkened. He looked at Ning Fan meaningfully without saying a word, as if he was thinking about something. Some of the old monsters were secretly shocked. They did not expect Ning Fan's ambition to be so great that he even coveted the position of one of the 4 great alliance leaders. Just when everyone thought that Mutu would reject Ning Fan's unreasonable request, he agreed to it without hesitation. Little friend, since you can withstand my attack head-on, you're probably invincible below the Dujin realm. It's not impossible for you to become the leader of the alliance. However, according to the rules of the alliance, if you want to become the leader, you must defeat one of the leaders and seize his position. As he said that, Mutu changed the topic with a smile. However, the rules are dead. Who said that the Demon Exterminating Alliance can't have a 5th leader? If fellow Taoist Ning is willing to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance, you will be the 5th leader from the moment you join. The 5th leader, huh? If I have this identity, I'm very willing to join the Demon Exterminating Alliance. Speaking of which, I still don't know what benefits I get from being the leader of the alliance. As soon as they heard Ning Fan's words, the expressions of many old monsters changed again. Ning Fan had just become the leader of the alliance, but he actually asked for benefits again. Even though most of the cultivators in the alliance joined the alliance for the benefits, it was their first time seeing someone asking for benefits in such a blatant manner. Fellow Taoist, don't you think you're being a little too greedy? Mutu's expression darkened slightly and said with displeasure. I want to contribute to the alliance. Shouldn't I ask for some rewards? Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. The reason why he kept reaching for a yard after being given an inch was because he wanted to test Mutu's bottom line when he would tolerate him. Through this bottom line, Ning Fan could judge his usefulness to Mutu's day. At this moment, Ning Fan was very sure that the reason why Mutu tolerated him time and time again was mostly because he had an ulterior motive. As soon as he heard Ning Fan asking for rewards, Mutu began to feel a little unwilling. Ning Fan could vaguely tell that he was not that useful to Mutu's day. His usefulness to Mutu was probably between being useful and being of great use. It was far from the extent where he was indispensable. Mutu stared at Ning Fan coldly. After a long while he finally said, "I wonder what benefits fellow Taoist Ning wants." His tone was already a little impolite. 5 billion Tao crystals. Other than that, I want to enter the clan temple of the Quicksand clan and ask for a jade slip for a forbidden technique. This time, Ning Fan's condition was not demanding an exorbitant price. It was not difficult for the Quicksand clan to fork out 5 billion Tao crystals. As for entering the clan temple to ask for a jade slip for a forbidden technique, this request was not difficult either. Inside the clan temple of the Quicksand clan, there were golden statues of their primogenitor and the clan leaders of the past generations. Anyone who enters the clan temple and kowtows to the primogenitor's golden statue would have the chance to obtain a jade slip for a forbidden technique from the primogenitor. It could be used to defend oneself and save one's life. Everyone only had one chance to obtain a jade slip in their lifetime. Normally, the Quicksand clan would not allow outsiders to enter the clan temple and ask for a jade slip for a forbidden technique. However, the rules were dead. It was not impossible for Ning Fan to enter the clan temple and ask for a jade slip for a forbidden technique. As for the jade slip for a forbidden technique that Ning Fan asked for, whether its grade was high or low and whether its power was strong or weak, it would depend on Ning Fan's own luck. No matter how strong it is, it would at most be a peak-grade forbidden technique jade slip for the Crossing Truth Realm. Throughout the history of the Quicksand clan, no one had ever obtained a shedding-grade forbidden technique jade slip. Thus, there was nothing wrong with letting Ning Fan enter the clan temple once. Alright, I can agree to these two requests. Does fellow Taoist have any other requests? Seeing that Ning Fan was rather tactful, Mutu's expression softened a little. I also want to obtain some information about the ancient heart. Ning Fan seemed to have pondered for a moment and raised another request. This request is simple. Fellow Taoist, take this jade slip. It contains detailed information about the ancient heart of the Quicksand Star Ocean. Mutu smiled meaningfully. He took out a jade slip and handed it to Ning Fan. Since Ning Fan was interested in the ancient heart, it seemed like he did not need to force Ning Fan. Ning Fan would fall into his trap and be used by him. Even though Ning Fan would not be of much use to him, he could more or less obtain some benefits for him. The Cave of Light of the Ancient God. That place had some opportunities that could only be obtained by cultivators who have attained the great perfection realm of the First Ring. On this day, Ning Fan officially joined the Demon Extermination Alliance as the fifth alliance leader. On this day, some members of the Quicksand clan harbored resentment towards Ning Fan. However, they were suppressed by Mutu's day. Mutu sent someone to fetch 5 billion Tao crystals and gave them to Ning Fan. Then he gave Ning Fan a dark yellow token and told him the location of the Quicksand clan's temple. The Quicksand clan's temple was buried in a forbidden area under the ground. It would only rise to the surface on one day every month. Cultivators who were not shedding void space could not break into the forbidden area by force. There were still 22 days before the next day when the forbidden area would rise to the surface. Coincidentally, this day was also the day when the poisonous mist in the Quicksand Star Ocean would dissipate. Eventually Ning Fan took his leave. Mutu's eyes gradually turned gloomy as he stared at Ning Fan's back. If it wasn't because I'm afraid that exposing my cultivation base and abilities might expose my identity and attract the endless pursuit of the godly Void Pavilion, why would I have to compromise with a junior of the Ghost Profound Realm time and time again? I can directly reveal my cultivation base and force this Ning Fan to listen to my orders. Do I still need to be afraid that he won't obey me? Sigh. Unfortunately, it's inconvenient for me to expose my identity. For now, I can only use this method to lure him into my trap. There aren't enough cultivators and demon beasts that have fallen in the quicksand star region. I still need more blood to achieve my goal. Just as Mutu was pondering, the 3 true Immortal Realm Alliance leaders arrived at the Golden Palace and asked with a frown. Isn't it a little inappropriate to let that Ning Fan become the Alliance leader? Even if it's inappropriate, so what? That young man's abilities are almost not any weaker than yours and mine. Besides, fellow Taoists, don't forget that he still has a powerful trump card, the Spirit Blast technique. Once he uses that ability, I'm afraid even a late true Immortal Realm expert will have to avoid him. If this young man joins the Alliance, I'm sure he will be helpful to the matter of suppressing the demon plague in the Quicksand Star region. Mutu pretended to be polite to the few true immortals with a smile on his face. Inwardly, however, he was full of disdain towards the 3 Dujuns. These 3 Dujuns are already in a difficult situation, and they still have the mood to care about other people's business. How ridiculous. Ning Fan was the 5th Alliance leader in name. However, Mutu did not assign him any subordinates or duties for the time being. Perhaps he was worried that Ning Fan would participate in too many affairs of the Alliance. Perhaps he did not want someone who was not part of his plan to mess up his plans. Ning Fan was not in the mood to deal with the affairs of the Alliance. After he left the Golden Palace, he directly flew away from the Golden City. Stepping on a blood lotus, he headed north for 5 days. 5 days later, Ning Fan appeared on a golden desert. The golden rays of the setting sun were shining on his back, causing his shadow to be very long. He stopped at this place and closed his eyes, standing on the barren desert. 17 days later, the clan temple rose from the forbidden underground area to the surface and appeared at this place. Ning Fan was waiting here. What he was waiting for was to enter the clan temple and steal the joss sticks. During the days of waiting, Ning Fan did not utter a single word and became one with the desert. As the sun rose and the moon set, he was comprehending the Tao aura of the Tao of time. During the 17 days, Ning Fan heard the heartbeats of the ancient gods 2 more times. He could hear them clearly even though they were separated by the Quicksand Star region. During the 17 days, his comprehension of the Tao of time was increasing bit by bit. However, the speed of improvement was extremely slow. Perhaps he would have to stand at this place for 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even 100,000 years before he could truly comprehend the Tao aura of time in this place. Rumble. The desert beneath his feet suddenly trembled. Ning Fan's expression changed. At the moment when the trembling occurred, he leaped into the sky. Under his feet, a majestic pyramid was taking shape bit by bit. Outside the pyramid were 12 stone statues of sphinx-faced beasts. At the moment the pyramid appeared, the ruby-like eyes of the 12 stone statues glared at Ning Fan coldly. Their eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent. There are no more updates. Let's wash up and sleep. Chapter 769. The rubies in the eyes of the 12 sphinxes were called scarlet essence stones, which were unique to the Quicksand tribe. This stone contained extremely powerful true yang energy, and could be absorbed by second-step cultivators who cultivated true yang energy. This stone could also be used to refine treasures and set up formations. These 12 sphinx statues were arranged according to the formation. When they were combined, it would be an absolute killing formation. Even a void-shedding cultivator would not be able to break into this formation. If a cultivator below the Sky Renhuang realm tried to barge into the clan temple without a token, he or she would be killed by the red light in the eyes of the 12 statues. Ning Fan stood in the sky and looked down at the 12 giant statues. He had a feeling in his heart. If he did not show the token that Mutu had given him, and chose to barge into the pyramids, he would definitely be attacked by the 12 colossi. You don't seem to be from the Quicksand clan. Why have you come to the clan temple? A few interrogative voices came from the pyramid. At the same time, 7 traces of profound ghost spirit sense spread out from the pyramid and swept towards Ning Fan. These 7 people were from the Quicksand clan, who were guarding the clan temple. Among the 7, there was even a mid-stage ghost profound expert. These people had been guarding the clan temple for a long time. Thus, they did not know what was happening in the outside world. They also did not know that Ning Fan had joined the Demon Suppressing Alliance as the fifth alliance leader. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and took out the token in his hand. In an instant, the 7 temple guards were shocked. Guess token. At the next moment, the ferocious glint in the eyes of the 12 giant statues disappeared. The 7 priests of the Quicksand clan hurriedly came out of the clan's temple and greeted Ning Fan with cupped fists. Their expressions were extremely respectful. As soon as they saw the token, even though the 7 of them knew that Ning Fan was not a member of Wuxia, they still did not dare to offend him. The token that Mutu gave Ning Fan was a token that only the guest elders of the Quicksand clan could possess. With this token, even if Ning Fan was not a member of the Quicksand clan, he could still enjoy the treatment of an elder in the clan. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He did not expect that Mutu would give him such a useful token. Now that he knew the origin of the token, he was slightly surprised, but his expression did not show it. I want to enter the clan temple alone to kowtow to the ancestral statue and ask for the jade slip of a forbidden technique. I don't want anyone to disturb me. Ning Fan ordered indifferently. Yes. Naturally, the 7 priests did not dare to disobey Ning Fan's order. Every member of the Quicksand tribe who came to ask for the jade slips of the forbidden technique didn't want others to see their jade slips. The forbidden technique jade slip was the life-saving trump card of every Quicksand clansman. How could they let outsiders know about it? None of the oracles thought that Ning Fan was going to be a gentleman on the roof. They only thought that Ning Fan did not want others to know what kind of ability the jade slips he obtained contained. Ning Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. He walked into the pyramid alone while the 7 oracles waited respectfully outside. This was the place where the golden bodies of the Quicksand tribe's leaders were enshrined. There were thousands of temples in the tower, but only 500 temples had the golden bodies of incense. Of the more than 500 Quicksand clan elders, only 10 or 20 of them had incense flames continuously growing in their golden bodies. As for the others, their incense flames had stopped growing a long time ago. They had already been forgotten by the people of the world. No one consecrated them. No one revered them, no one worshipped them. Among these 20 people, Daoist Flowing Sand had the most incense sticks. This person reversed 10,000 years of time with a single finger, causing an ancient immortal venerable's cultivation to be reduced by 10,000 years. This had once shocked the entire Eastern Heaven immortal world. The number of Eastern Sky cultivators who worshipped him was not few. After 9 million years of accumulation, the number of incense sticks he had was not much less than the old ancestor of the Yao family. Walking past the temples, Ning Fan held the demon puppet in his hand and waved his hand to take away the incense stick power from the golden statues of the deceased. No matter how many incense sticks there were, Ning Fan would take them whenever he could. Of course, he would not waste them. Every time he took away a person's incense stick, Ning Fan would light up a stick of incense and bow to the deceased whose incense was stolen. Since the deceased had already passed away, it was useless to keep their incense sticks. Taking them away would not harm his Dao heart. Returning an incense stick to the deceased could be considered as a token of appreciation to them. After walking through all the temples, Ning Fan had obtained a terrifying amount of incense stick power. All of them were placed in his golden statue of incense sticks. The golden statue's appearance was exactly the same as Ning Fan's. The incense stick power it contained was enough for Ning Fan's magic power to increase by a few times. This was the total amount of incense sticks left by the leaders of the Quicksand tribe for more than 500 generations. It was enough to save a Ghost Realm cultivator 10,000 years of arduous cultivation. To Ning Fan, however, it was still not enough to break through to the mid-Ghost Realm in one go. It was too difficult to advance to the Ghost Realm. After stealing all the Joss flames, Ning Fan had achieved one of his objectives in coming to Quicksand Star region. Even though he had already obtained the Joss flame, he was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he continued to walk towards the depths of the ancestral temple. In the deepest part of the clan temple, there was a golden statue of the Quicksand clan's first ancestor. Ancestor Quicksand was an immortal king of a generation. Ning Fan would not be able to steal his incense. As the ancestor of a clan, The amount of Joss flame power he had accumulated was naturally extremely terrifying. However, if he couldn't steal them away, Ning Fan would not covet them no matter how many Joss sticks there were. Most people entered the clan temple to pay their respects to the golden statue of the flowing sand ancestor, and ask him to bestow upon them a forbidden technique jade scroll. Even though Ning Fan did not have the intention to worship the ancestral statue, he did not mind trying to see if he could obtain the jade slip of the forbidden technique from the statue. If he could obtain a forbidden technique jade slip for free, it would naturally be a wonderful thing. In the deepest part of the clan temple, there was a golden palace. Ancient incense burned in the palace, and the fragrance still lingered. On the four walls of the palace, there were some ancient murals, describing the past events of the Quicksand clan. A giant golden statue was carved in the middle of the palace. It was the statue of an elderly man with 3 eyes. There was a golden pupil on the glabella of that elderly man. He held a golden scepter in his left hand and a cobra coiled around his body. His right hand held a pearl. That pearl was made of pure gold, and it was even more dazzling than the other parts of the golden statue. It was as if it wasn't a golden pearl, but a small dazzling sun. Is this the golden body of the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor? Ning Fan's eyes were filled with emotions. He took a sandalwood incense from the side and walked towards the cauldron in front of the golden statue. He inserted a stick of incense into the ashes in the cauldron. Then he cupped his fists slightly and bowed to the golden statue of the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor. He was not a member of the Flowing Sand clan. Thus he would not kneel to the first ancestor. This cupping of his fists was just a way to remember the ancestors, and to see if he could obtain the jade scroll of the forbidden technique with this incense and bow. After bowing, Ning Fan quietly looked at the golden statue of the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor and waited patiently. After he bowed, the Joss flame power in the golden statue of the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor appeared out of nowhere. That trace of Joss flame power was naturally born from Ning Fan's admiration. The moment the Joss flame power appeared, the golden statue of the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor gave off a faint golden light. Gradually, that golden light became dazzling. Traces of golden light condensed around Ning Fan and turned into golden jade slips that floated in the air. These golden jade slips were still in an illusory state. They recorded the various forbidden techniques that the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor had learned in his life. Very soon, the palace was filled with the shadows of hundreds of thousands of golden jade slips. Ning Fan stood among the countless jade slips and his eyes were filled with amazement. He thought to himself that the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor had such a powerful ability. He could actually use his own golden statue to leave behind opportunities for his descendants. As long as Ning Fan took away one of the hundreds of thousands of jade slips, the rest of them would all shatter. Anyone could only ask for a jade slip from the Flowing Sand clan's first ancestor. The hundreds of thousands of jade slips were too much for Ning Fan's eyes to take in. These jade slips could not be checked accurately. Before obtaining them, one could not use spirit sense to sense the strength of the forbidden technique engraved on them. If one were to use the naked eye to judge the strength of the forbidden technique in the jade slips, one could only judge the strength of the forbidden technique from the difference in the intensity of the golden light emitted from the jade slips. Ning Fan closed his eyes and released the power of his 5-colored medicine soul. He used the power of his medicine soul to sense the strength of the forbidden technique in the jade slips. The perception ability of the 5-colored medicine soul was extremely powerful. It was far beyond the perception of spirit sense. With the perception of the 5-colored medicine soul, Ning Fan could vaguely judge the strength of the forbidden technique in these hundreds of thousands of jade slips. Among these jade slips, there were Void Fragmentation Realm jade slips, Human Profound Realm and Ghost Profound Realm jade slips, and even Crossing Truth jade slips. Even the strongest forbidden technique did not exceed the destructive power of a Peak Crossing Truth attack. A Peak Crossing Truth attack, huh? It seems to be somewhat useful. Ning Fan fixed his eyes on a golden jade slip. Just as he was about to take it, he suddenly frowned and withdrew his hand that was stretched out halfway. Ning Fan opened his eyes and scanned through the countless jade slips. Then his gaze landed on an inconspicuous jade slip at the corner. The golden light on the jade slip was very weak. Normally, only the jade slips containing void fragmentation realm abilities would emit such a weak light. Even though the light was weak, this jade slip gave Ning Fan a very strange feeling. Compared to the other jade slips, there seemed to be something different about this jade slip. After hesitating for a moment, Ning Fan waved his hand and kept this jade slip which had a weak light. He gave up on the peak crossing truth attack jade slip. The moment he took this jade slip, the shadows of the other jade slips all dispersed and disappeared. Everyone could only obtain one jade slip of the forbidden technique from the flowing sand primogenitor. No one could get a second one. Ning Fan held the jade slip in his hand and spread his spirit sense into it. Then his eyes turned strange. The forbidden technique recorded in this jade slip was much weaker than what he had imagined. It was called Great Void Light Prison. It was a type of heavenly abode sealing ability. Once this jade slip is activated, it could summon a heavenly abode cage that was formed from the rays of the sun, and trap the enemy within it. This ability could at most trap origin returning Great Void Stage cultivators. It could not even trap a first heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator. This jade slip was useless to Ning Fan. Theoretically speaking, that was the case. Ning Fan carefully scanned through the contents of the jade slip. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold as if he had discovered something. Without any hesitation, he crushed the jade slip which he had just obtained and activated the forbidden technique in this clan temple. With his current cultivation base, he naturally did not need to worry about any changes caused by the Great Void Divine Technique. The reason why he crushed the jade slip and activated the divine technique was just to confirm one thing. If there was nothing special about this Great Void Light Prison, then he must have sensed it wrongly. If there was really something special about this Great Void Light Prison, perhaps the fortune hidden in this jade slip was far more valuable than that peak crossing truth attack. At the moment when Ning Fan crushed the golden jade slip, a faint golden light swept across every corner of the palace. Ning Fan's eyes turned slightly serious. He took a step forward and disappeared from his original spot. With the help of the golden light, he went into the space of the Great Void Light Prison. It was a heavenly abode that shone with dazzling golden light. The scorching sun hung high in the sky and golden clouds covered the sky. As soon as Ning Fan entered this space, he immediately spread his spirit sense crazily, covering the entire heavenly abode. After sensing for a while, Ning Fan suddenly raised his head and looked straight at the dazzling golden sun. If he is a mortal, he certainly would not be able to look at the sun directly. However, with Ning Fan's cultivation base, he naturally had the ability to restrain the sunlight. Why would he be afraid of the sun's glare? As he looked at the sun, Ning Fan's tightly knitted brows slowly relaxed, and he nodded with satisfaction. Then, he stepped on the golden clouds and soared into the sky, turning into a ray of escaping light, and dashed towards the scorching sun. The closer he got to the sun, the hotter he felt. When he was 10,000 zhang away from it, he could no longer go any closer. If he continues to get closer, he might be burned by the sunlight even with his current cultivation base. Seeing this, Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He was even more certain that there was a fortune hidden in this place. How could a mere origin returning forbidden technique create such a powerful fake sun? Ning Fan stood 10,000 zhang away from the scorching sun. He raised his hand and summoned the memory-severing Dao sword, slashing at the golden sun. The dark golden sword light slashed vertically, and the scorching golden sun was directly split into two. The golden sun collapsed. At the moment when the golden sun collapsed, the entire heavenly abode collapsed along with it. The broken pieces of space were extremely sharp. Even a first heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator would not dare to touch them. Ning Fan did not dodge or evade despite the countless pieces of space piercing his body. When those pieces of space reached his body, they all disintegrated on their own. None of them could hurt Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes were fixed on the direction where the golden sun was destroyed. At a certain moment, an extremely scorching golden line suddenly pierced through the sky and fled towards a certain direction. Ning Fan's expression suddenly changed. Without saying a word, he stepped on black flames and used the Black Devil Escape technique, directly appearing in front of the golden line. He directly raised his hand and slammed it down. Boundless magic power turned into a powerful palm imprint and blasted against the golden line. The golden line shook violently and its light weakened a little. However, it continued to change its direction and fled towards another direction. You can't escape. Ning Fan pointed his finger at the sky and forcefully stopped the golden line in mid-air. Then he leaped forward and appeared beside the golden line. He then forcefully pointed his finger at it. Quickly show your true form. As soon as he pointed his finger, the golden line shook violently again, and its light completely weakened. The golden light trembled and turned into a crystal fragment. Within the fragment, there was a faint golden light flowing. Ning Fan held the crystal fragment in his hand. Just as it touched his hand, his entire arm suddenly burst into flames. This crystal fragment contained a terrifying amount of true yang power. Its temperature was too high. The true yang power contained in just a fragment was enough to incinerate Ning Fan to death. Without any hesitation, Ning Fan raised his hand and activated the Yin Fusion secret technique to restrain the true yang power in the fragment. Gradually, the chaotic true yang power in the crystal fragment calmed down, and it became cold to the touch. The Yin Fusion technique was an incomplete secret technique that Luo Yu taught Ning Fan. It had a special effect on restraining true yang power. After suppressing the true yang power in the fragment, Ning Fan fixed his eyes on it and examined it. After a long time, he came to a conclusion. This fragment should be one of the fragments of a certain crystal pearl. It was just a fragment of a pearl, but it contained such terrifying true yang power. If it's a complete pearl, the true yang power it contained would probably be much stronger than an innate treasure. The space of the heavenly dwelling had completely collapsed. Ning Fan was engulfed by the golden light and reappeared in the golden hall of the clan temple. Holding the crystal fragment in his hand, Ning Fan raised his head. Eventually, his eyes fell on the golden statue of the flowing sand ancestor. In the statue's right hand, there was a pearl that shone like a small sun. Perhaps the quicksand primogenitor once obtained a powerful orb, and the crystal shard in my hand is one of the shards of that orb. It's a pity that my main cultivation isn't the true yang divine ability. Devouring the true yang energy is useless. Otherwise, I could refine this crystal fragment and increase my strength by a lot. After keeping the crystal shards, Ning Fan walked out of the clan temple step by step. Just as he walked out of the clan temple pyramid, a sound-transmitting flying sword flew over from afar. It was a sound transmission from Mu Tuesday, the Godly Void Pavilion's young pavilion master, has personally brought people to reinforce my quicksand star field. He wants to lead my quicksand world's cultivators and quell the quicksand demon tide in one fell swoop. Now he is discussing with this old man about the deployment of the war. Fellow Taoist Ning, as the Fifth Alliance Master, you have the obligation to participate in this discussion. Come to the Golden City as soon as possible. As soon as he heard Mu Tu's telepathic message, Ning Fan's eyes turned gentle. The young pavilion master of the Godly Void Pavilion, wasn't she Xiao Qianxi? Had she also come to the Quicksand Star region? It seemed like 100 years had passed since they parted ways in the Rain World. Perhaps, she had already broken through to the early mortal profound realm. I wonder if she has heard about my news and came for me, or if she really just came to quell the chaos caused by the demons in the eastern heaven. Ning Fan stepped on the blood lotus and sped towards the direction of the Golden City. Chapter 770. Inside the Golden Hall, the atmosphere was very cold. On the wall was a map of the entire quicksand star field. The map was marked with dozens of blood-red circles. No one knew what it meant. The Quicksand Clan and the Demon Suppression Alliance, who were originally at odds with each other, were now united against a common enemy. They looked at the group of experts in front of them, and dared not to say anything. The group of experts had a total of nearly 100 people. Each of them had a cultivation level above the life immortal realm. There were a total of 7 people above the true immortal realm. Among the 7 people, there were 3 early true crossing realm, 2 middle true crossing realm, 1 late true crossing realm and 1 peak true crossing realm. But among this group of experts, the speaker was not a true immortal, but a black-clothed girl with a black veil covering her face. The girl was only at the early human profound realm, but no one dared to anger her. This was because she had a very special identity, the young master of the Godly Void Pavilion. Young master, don't you think your request is a bit too much? Using the lives of the Quicksand clan and the Alliance as bait to lure out the main force of the Demon Tide and annihilate them in one fell swoop. This can certainly quell the Demon Tide in the shortest time, but what about the cultivators who are the bait? Mutu resisted the resentment in his eyes and tried to make his tone sound calm. The black-clothed girl was the young master of the Godly Void Pavilion, Xiao Qianxi. She was the person he wanted to kill even in his dreams. But now, he had not accomplished his mission, and could not kill Xiao Qianxi. He could not even reveal his true cultivation level and identity. He had never forgotten that he was a felon of the Godly Void Pavilion, a felon of the Eastern Sky who escaped from the heavenly prison. In the eyes of the cultivators who did not know the truth, they would only think that he was dissatisfied with the bait. Hee, my request is too much, how come I didn't know? The little demoness smiled evilly and looked at Mutu meaningfully. My intuition has always been very accurate. This time, the chaos caused by the Quicksand demon race has a strong smell of conspiracy. Whether it's the Demon Tide or the ancient heartbeat, they must be dealt with quickly. Otherwise, it might cause a big mess. Does Patriarch Mu think that there will be a bigger mess in the Quicksand star field? Hearing the little demoness question, Mutu's expression did not change, but his heart suddenly jumped. Could it be that his plan had been exposed? After thinking about it, he felt that the little demon girl was deliberately mystifying things to get information from him. Everyone knew that Eastern Heaven's Godly Void Pavilion's young master Xiao Qianxi's mind was like a demon's, and she was extremely shrewd. Her way of doing things was both good and evil, and there were countless people who had been schemed against by her. That was how she got her nickname, Little Demon Girl. Who knew if this demoness had really seen through his plan, or if she was just trying to trick him? Mutu did not answer Little Demon Girl's question. Instead, he continued to protest against Little Demon Girl as the leader of the Quicksand tribe, and the leader of the Alliance. The Little Demon Girl's black eyes flashed as she looked at Mutu with a smile. However, the suspicion in her eyes did not diminish. Miss, do you think that this Mutu is the mastermind behind the Eastern Sky's demon chaos? That peak stage crossing truth true immortal respectfully asked. Yes, it's very likely. However, I always feel that this Eastern Sky demon chaos isn't as simple as it seems. Is it because of the appearance of the ancient god's heart? The ancient god's heart cannot fall into the hands of outsiders. This is a treasure that must be obtained by our Godly Void Pavilion. If we have this, the success rate of the sacrifice will undoubtedly increase by a lot. The old monster at the peak of Duzhen Peak said with a fiery gaze. Little Demon Girl's expression was obviously a little unnatural. She casually responded. She seemed to be very disgusted with that sacrifice. Rest assured, miss, the sacrifice for this generation's sacrifice has already been chosen. It's not Miss' turn yet. Seemingly sensing the strange expression of Little Demon Girl, that peak stage crossing truth old monster comforted her. Elder Luo, don't worry. I don't have any psychological pressure. The countless glory that I have obtained in this life are all bestowed by the Godly Void Pavilion. When the day comes when I have to die for the Godly Void Pavilion, I won't have any second thoughts. Little Demon Girl coldly said. It's good that Miss understands. Fate is determined by the heavens, it can't be forced. Little Demon Girl no longer paid attention to that peak stage crossing truth old monster. She continued to smile as she tried to probe Mutu's words. She repeatedly emphasized that the demon tide must be eliminated as soon as possible. They must use her method of luring the snake out of its hole. Mutu's complexion looked ashen, but he was sneering in his heart. He could not wait to use Little Demon Girl's method to end the battle as soon as possible. He wanted to gather enough blood offerings in one go. Little Demon Girl's eyes changed slightly. She could see through Mutu's duplicity. This Mutu actually wants to cause a large-scale massacre in the entire Quicksand Star region. What's his purpose? Is this demon riot really planned by him? While Little Demon Girl was muttering to herself, a cultivator suddenly entered the Golden Palace and reported. The Fifth Alliance Master, Ningfan, has arrived. As soon as they heard Ningfan's arrival, each of the alliance's cultivators revealed a strange expression. As for those cultivators of the Quicksand clan, they more or less showed disgust and resentment. The resentment was naturally because of Ningfan's action of slaughtering the people of the Quicksand clan. Little Demon Girl, on the other hand, showed a rare smile from the bottom of her heart. When Ningfan first entered the Eastern Heaven, she was still in seclusion to break through to the life-immortal realm. Thus she did not know about Ningfan's arrival. When she came out of seclusion and heard about Ningfan's news, she immediately went to the Slaughtering Star. However, she missed the opportunity to meet Ningfan. At that time, Ningfan had already left the Slaughtering Star region, and even the Six Desires Star region. Initially, Little Demon Girl wanted to continue searching for Ningfan's whereabouts and pester him. However, she did not expect that she would receive an order from the pavilion at this critical moment, asking her to personally lead a group of people to solve the demon riot in the Quicksand Star region and find out the real reason behind it. Originally, she came to the Quicksand Star region to complete a task. However, she did not expect to hear about Ningfan's rumor the moment she arrived. Is this some kind of fate? Did he really become the Alliance Master of the Demon Suppression Alliance? Did he really start a massacre in this Quicksand Star region? Is his cultivation base really at the early Ghost Profound Realm? The series of questions in Little Demon Girl's mind were answered the moment Ningfan stepped into the Golden Palace. There was no doubt that the fifth Alliance Master was Ningfan. As for Ningfan, he was indeed at the early Ghost Profound Realm. When they first met, he was just the young lord of the Seven Apricot City who had just entered the Vein Opening Realm and embarked on the path of cultivation. As for her, she was already close to becoming an immortal. Now that they met again in the Eastern Heaven, she finally broke through the early human Profound Realm and stepped into the second step of the Immortal Realm. As for him, he was already at the early Ghost Profound Realm. I was still surpassed by him. The inheritor of ancient chaos is indeed very scary. Little Demon Girl giggled and suddenly did an action that made countless people dumbfounded. She hopped into Ningfan's arms and spoke softly in an intimate and charming tone. "Hubby, it's been a long time since we last met. Did you miss me?" Sure enough, it's her. Ningfan suddenly felt a headache. He was not even willing to reveal his identity as the Lord of Six Desires. He only wanted to keep a low profile, so that it would be convenient for him to roam the Eastern Heaven and steal incense. Who knew that the Little Demon Girl would call him husband and give him a hug, throwing him into the limelight? Perhaps from today onwards he, Ningfan, would not be able to keep a low profile in the Eastern Heaven. The husband of the Godly Void Pavilion's young master. Such a shocking identity was not something that a disciple of the Slaughter Palace could compare to. Even the old monsters of the Godly Void Pavilion would pay attention to Ningfan. This Little Demon Girl's nature did not change. As soon as they met, she deliberately made things difficult for him. When Ningfan saw the Little Demon Girl's crafty eyes, he knew that this woman did not want him to keep a low profile on purpose, and was sincerely making trouble for him. "Husband, are you angry?" Little Demon Girl innocently looked at Ningfan. Her chest pressed against Ningfan and squeezed. Her posture was as ambiguous as it could be. Of course, Ningfan would not be angry because of the Little Demon Girl's actions. He had long been used to being teased by this woman. Moreover, Ningfan also understood that the Little Demon Girl deliberately made him unable to keep a low profile. She sincerely wanted to make trouble, and also wanted to use the Godly Void Pavilion's name to protect him. "Thank you." Ningfan faintly smiled and gently tightened his grip on the Little Demon Girl's slender waist. "Saying thank you is too distant. I am your dear wife. Helping you is what I should do." Little Demon Girl playfully smiled and jumped out of Ningfan's bosom. She stroked her hair. She had heard of Ningfan's deeds and knew that he was treading on thin ice in the Slaughter Palace. She heard that Ningfan had offended Fei He, Yao Qingyun, the Pill Sect and the Quicksand Clan. Therefore, she publicly gave Ningfan the title of husband of the Godly Void Pavilion's young master. Presumably, this title would spread across the entire Eastern Heaven very soon. At that time, even the sect master of the Pill Sect would have to think twice if he wants to touch Ningfan. At this moment, the Golden Palace was completely silent. The original voices of dispute had already stopped because of Ningfan's arrival. The cultivators of the Quicksand clan and the Alliance stared at Ningfan in shock. They did not expect that Ningfan could hook up with the young master of the Godly Void Pavilion and form a connection with such a colossus like the Godly Void Pavilion. The experts of the Godly Void Pavilion, on the other hand, were glaring at Ningfan angrily. The way they looked at Ningfan originally did not carry any hostility. However, after the little demon girl announced her relationship with Ningfan, they could not help but regard Ningfan as their mortal enemy. The little demon girl's identity was special. She was not allowed to lose her chastity, fall in love or be involved with any man. Even when some forces of the Eastern Heaven had the intention to send out the elites of their sex to propose marriage to the little demon girl, they would usually be forcefully rejected by the Godly Void Pavilion. In the past, the Dao child of the Jade Dao sect, He Shirshio, was also one of the Eastern Heaven's elites who wholeheartedly wanted to marry the little demon girl. Unfortunately, He Shirshio was not qualified. The Jade Dao sect behind him was also not qualified. They did not even have the qualifications to propose marriage to the Godly Void Pavilion. The only thing He Shirshio could do was to please the little demon girl behind her back in order to exchange for the beauty's heart. Unfortunately, he had underestimated the little demon girl's difficulty. Not only did he not win her heart, but he also lost his life in the Rain World. Today, the little demon girl who countless Eastern Heavens elites wanted to marry but could not, actually admitted Ningfan as her husband. How could the experts of the Godly Void Pavilion not harbor hostility towards Ningfan? He is my Xiaoqianxi's husband. Do you guys want to make a move against him? The little demon girl's eyes turned cold and swept across the experts of the Godly Void Pavilion. Her eyes carried a threatening look. Even the peak realm crossing truth old monsters did not dare to ignore this threat. They hurriedly cupped their fists and apologized. This subordinate dares not. That's right. The little demon girl was about to nod her head in satisfaction. Suddenly, a discordant voice came from the crowd. Your identity is special. You cannot be involved with any man. This child also does not have the qualifications to be involved with you. An early crossing truth middle-aged Taoist coldly said. The way he looked at the little demon girl was obviously disrespectful. He naturally had a backer behind him. The identity and status of that backer was not something the bullshit Godly Void Pavilion's young master could compare to. What if he is the successor of ancient chaos? Don't tell me Elder Su doesn't know about the first Pavilion Lord's last order. The little demon girl looked at the middle-aged Taoist with a cold expression. That person was called Sun Yan. He was not from the same faction as her. The backer behind him had always been at odds with her. Successor of ancient chaos? He is a yin-yang transformation cultivator? Sun Yan was slightly surprised at first. He recalled the last order of the Godly Void ancestor, but a moment later, he sneered. So what if he is the successor of ancient chaos? The last order of the ancestor does not necessarily need you to complete it. You must remember your mission and keep your distance from this child. Sun Yan sneered. What if I insist on making him my husband in the name of completing the last order of the ancestor? The little demon girl said coldly. If young Pavilion Lord insists on doing so, I might have to help young Pavilion Lord with a small favor before we pacify the Eastern Heaven this time. I will help young Pavilion Lord cut off your emotional ties with the intelligent sword. True technique, heaven shifting. Sun Yan took a huge step forward. The early crossing truth aura force of his cultivation base soared in the entire Golden Palace. He had just broken through to the true crossing realm 20 years ago. His cultivation base had yet to stabilize. Compared to those who were at the same level as him, he was considered extremely weak. However, in front of Ningfan, he was full of arrogance. Be it his cultivation base or background, he knew that he was far from being comparable to Ningfan. He did not mind helping the little demon girl get rid of Ningfan. On the surface, he was doing it for the sake of the little demon girl's identity and the overall situation of the Godly Void Pavilion. Even if he kills Ningfan, no one in the pavilion would blame him. In reality, if he kills the little demon girl's husband, he would be able to leave a stain on her Dao heart. This time, the little demon girl did not have the qualifications to be the sacrificial offering. In the next sacrificial offering, if the little demon girl's Dao heart is damaged, she naturally would not have the qualifications to be the sacrificial offering. As for the sacrificial offering of his faction, he would have the qualifications to win. When he thought of the possibility of such a good thing happening, Sun Yan was naturally eager to kill Ning Fan. At the moment when he displayed the heaven-shifting technique, heaven and earth suddenly trembled. Both his and Ning Fan's figures disappeared from their original spots and appeared in the sky of the flowing sand realm. Not good. The little demon girl's pretty face changed. She did not expect that the word husband would bring such trouble to Ning Fan. Taking a step forward, the little demon girl turned into a rainbow and flew out of the golden palace. She raised her head and looked at the vast sky with cold eyes. Behind her, the old monsters came out one after another and stared at the sky. Above the vast sky, Ning Fan and Sun Yan were trapped in a barrier. That barrier was the barrier of the heaven-shifting technique. The heaven-shifting technique was one of the spatial secret techniques of the Godly Void Pavilion. Only a small number of people could successfully cultivate it. Sun Yan did not know what kind of luck he had, but he managed to successfully cultivate this technique and obtain the recognition of an immortal emperor. Once the heaven-shifting technique is displayed, it would trap both the enemy and himself in the heaven and earth barrier. Unless the opponent's cultivation base was a great realm higher than the user of the technique, no one could break the barrier. This heaven-shifting technique was displayed by Sun Yan. His cultivation base was at the Dujin realm. This meant that no one could break the heaven-shifting formation and interrupt the battle between the two of them unless they had Shikong's help. The heaven-shifting technique was a great technique used to trap the enemy's cultivation base. Sun Yan wanted to kill Ning Fan in front of the little demon girl and destroy his Dao heart with the help of the heaven-shifting technique. Junior, I have no grudges against you. However, I have no choice but to kill you in this barrier with my own hands today. Unless I personally open this barrier, no cultivator below Shikong's cultivation base can break it and save you. I'll let you die knowing the truth. If you die, you don't have to hate me. Sun Yan sneered hypocritically. Die? Why would I die? If you cultivate for 1,000 years in the Dujin realm and stabilize your cultivation base, I might still think that you're a formidable enemy. However, you don't have the strength to kill me now. Do you know that there's a saying in this world called getting caught in one's own cocoon? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light and replied coldly. The little demon girl had indeed brought him trouble. However, Ning Fan would not blame her. She was just doing it out of kindness. This Sun Yan doesn't seem to like the little demon girl. Is he her enemy? Then, I'll help her get rid of one of her enemies in this barrier. Ning Fan raised his hand and summoned a ray of dark golden sword light, slashing it at Sun Yan. Sun Yan snorted disdainfully. Insignificant skill. Before the last word had even finished trembling, his expression had already changed greatly. How could he still have the mood to look down on Ning Fan? What? A Dao weapon condensed from the second step intent realm. Chapter 771. Sun Yan could tell that the dark golden sword light was a Dao weapon at first glance. Dao weapons were rare items to life immortal realm cultivators. However, they were not that rare to true immortal realm cultivators. If Ning Fan only had a Dao weapon, it would not be enough to make him change his expression. However, what Ning Fan had was a Dao weapon that was condensed from the second step intent realm. The power of such a Dao weapon was far beyond that of a Dao weapon of the same level. Sun Yan had lived for 1,000,000 years. He had seen many famous figures in the world. He had more or less seen a few cultivators who possessed second-step Dao weapons. All of them were void-shedding experts. Those who could condense a Dao weapon with the second-step intent realm were all void-shedding experts. Impossible. This young man is just a ghost profound realm cultivator. How could he have such a powerful Dao weapon? Blood-melting blade, descend. Sun Yan was a true immortal realm cultivator after all. Even though he was stunned by Ning Fan's Dao weapon, he was still far from panicking. Ning Fan's Dao weapon was not weak. However, the power that the Dao weapon could display was very limited due to the difference in cultivation level. It was not enough to pose too much of a threat to him. As Ning Fan pointed his finger, The 108,000 illusory swords in the heaven and earth barrier turned into layers of shadows, locking Sun Yan within. Sun Yan's expression changed. He no longer looked down on Ningfan. Now he had the least respect for him. Sun Yan bit the skin on his finger and pointed at it. A ray of blood light shot out from the wound on his finger. As soon as the blood light appeared, it immediately turned into a blood-red scimitar. From afar, the scimitar looked like half a blood-red crescent moon. It was as thin as a cicada's wing. Sun Yan changed his hand seal. The blood scimitar trembled slightly, and then disappeared without a trace. At the next moment, the blood light soared into the sky. The 108,000 illusory swords were all destroyed by the blade light. The illusory sword formation was broken. As soon as the sword formation was broken, the memory-severing Dao sword flew backward. Its body was stained with a tainted blood light. Ningfan's eyes turned cold. He thought that the blood-melting blade was really a domineering Dao weapon. It was fine that it broke the illusory sword formation, but it actually dared to taint the memory-severing Dao sword light with its blood. Fortunately, the memory-severing Dao sword was a Dao weapon condensed from the second step intent realm. If it was a first-step Dao soldier, it would have been tainted by the bloodlight. Even if it wasn't destroyed, its power would have been greatly reduced. Burn! Ningfan flicked his sleeve. Black flames flashed and burned away the bloodstains on the memory-severing Dao sword. Then he raised his hand and kept the sword. Ningfan did not gain the upper hand in the first exchange of blows. However, Sun Yan did not gain the upper hand either. Ningfan had already tested Sun Yan's strength with this move. He was 70% confident that he could defeat him and 20% confident that he could kill him. Sun Yan broke the sword formation and was about to reveal a look of joy. However, when he realized that his blood transformation blade had been sealed by the frigid sword qi, he could no longer laugh. By relying on the strength of the blood transformation edge, he managed to break the phantom sword formation that Ningfan had planted in one go. However, just how powerful was the memory-severing Dao sword? The sword contained the power of memory intent realm, and the determination to let out the warmth in his heart, even if he has to freeze his samsara. The memory-severing Dao sword was a sword of cold ice. That coldness came from the wind and snow of 7 Apricot City in his memories. The blood transformation edge's saber light was sealed by that cold, and its power was slightly weakened. Although the power wasn't much weaker, Sun Yan couldn't accept such an outcome. What was his cultivation base? He was a dignified early truth-crossing realm true immortal, who was 3 minor cultivation realms higher than Ningfan. To him, he actually lost in the first exchange of blows with Ningfan. To him, it was a great humiliation. Gradually, Sun Yan's eyes became colder and his heart became calmer. He realized that Ningfan was not an ordinary ghost profound realm cultivator. It seems like Ningfan did not rely entirely on his good luck to become the leader of the Demon Suppression Alliance, and be on an equal footing with the 4 true immortal realm leaders. Look! The 5th Alliance Master is actually on par with that true immortal. Some cultivators of the Alliance looked at the sky in shock. Is it a draw? That Ningfan was just lucky enough to block Senior Sun Yan's attack. It's not a draw. He's just not defeated yet. It won't be long before he loses. Some cultivators of the Quicksand clan sneered. It's a draw, but it's also not a draw. The eyes of the 3 true immortal realm leaders of the Alliance trembled slightly. They had seen through some clues. Ningfan did not gain any advantage from the clash of the Dao soldiers while Sun Yan suffered a small loss. It was reasonable to say that the 2 of them were on par. It was also reasonable to say that Ningfan had the upper hand. The only thing that could be confirmed was that Sun Yan definitely did not have the upper hand. That Sun Yan's aptitude is not weak, and he even received pointers from the Divine Space Emperor. He actually suffered a small loss in the hands of this child. The gazes of the group of Godly Void Pavilion experts were all filled with shock. Naturally, they did not expect that Sun Yan would suffer a loss in Ningfan's hands. Truth be told, they were also hostile towards Ningfan's and did not like him getting close to the little demoness. However, their standpoint was different from Sun Yan's. They belonged to the same faction as the little demoness. No matter how much they disliked Ningfan, They would not act recklessly for the sake of the little demoness. Sun Yan was different. To them, he was equivalent to a political enemy. Therefore, when Sun Yan suffered a setback, the group of experts of the Godly Void Pavilion could not help but be in a good mood. Their dissatisfaction towards Ningfan also diminished a little. He's fighting Sun Yan with his spirit Xian cultivation, and he even has the upper hand. The little demon girl was so shocked that her mouth opened slightly. After a moment, she smiled proudly. As expected of the man she fancied, as expected of the man she had decided to tangle with for the rest of her life, she, who had always been meticulous in her calculations, always made mistakes and underestimated Ningfan. This Sun Yan is looking for trouble for himself. Mu Tu did not show any expression on his face, but his heart was sneering. He was laughing at Sun Yan for not knowing the meaning of death, and seeking trouble for himself. Who was he, Mu Tu? He was the dignified old monster Shikong. Even if his cultivation base was suppressed to the early truth realm, the power of a single attack from him was not something an ordinary Duzhen could withstand. After all, his cultivation base was still there. When he used the same truth realm divine ability, the power of his attack was naturally not comparable to Duzhen's. Mu Tu and Ningfan's magic technique collided, and it ended in a draw. Mu Tu's strength was far from what Sun Yan, who had just crossed the true bridge and had yet to stabilize his cultivation base, could compare with. Even Mu Tu was only on par with Ningfan. Sun Yan was naturally slightly weaker than Ningfan. Of course, Sun Yan was not much weaker than Ningfan. The gap between the two of them was almost negligible. If Ningfan wants to kill Sun Yan, it was absolutely impossible without using his trump card. This Sun Yan is trapped in his own trap. This Ningfan also deserves to die. I didn't expect him to actually have such a deep friendship with the young pavilion master of the Godly Void Pavilion. To think that I have tolerated this young man again and again, hoping to obtain some opportunities by relying on his three flowers technique. Now it seems like there's no need for me to continue using him. It's better to kill him directly. In the deepest part of Mu Tu's eyes, a trace of intense hatred and killing intent quietly flashed. The grudge between him and the Godly Void Pavilion could never be resolved. Just based on the fact that Ningfan was the husband of Little Demoness, he had enough reasons to make Ningfan die in the Quicksand Star region forever. Ningfan did not know that Sun Yan was not the only powerful enemy that Little Demoness' words had brought to him. He did not know that Mu Tu no longer had the intention to make use of him, and only wanted to kill him. At this moment, Ningfan was fully focused on confronting Sun Yan. There were no flaws in his chi. His black hair fluttered in the air, but his black eyes were slightly closed. When he opened them again, his eyes were blood red. That blood red color was dyed by his baleful chi. At the moment when Ningfan's eyes turned blood red, the pressure of his baleful chi poured into the sky like a sea of blood. Due to the restriction of the heaven and earth barrier, the aura force could not spread out of the barrier. The cultivators outside the barrier also could not accurately sense Ningfan's aura force. However, Sun Yan, who was inside the barrier, was almost scared to death the moment he sensed Ningfan's aura force. During the battle of the Sixth Desire Realm, Ningfan had relied on every step of his plan to plot against Fei He, Jun Linyuan, Old Ancestor Wei Chun and Old Monster Qian Yan. Even though he had used the Slayer Emperor's Jade Slip to eliminate all the experts, his baleful chi had still increased tremendously. His current baleful chi was so strong that even he found it hard to suppress it. Thus, he did not dare to reveal it easily. He had killed 3 Shikong and 1 Thought Fragment expert. The baleful chi he had was enough to make all the cultivators in the Thought Fragment realm tremble in fear. At the moment when he released his baleful chi, Ningfan's body seemed to be burning. Traces of blood-red flames appeared. The blood-red flames were not flames but blood flames. It was said that only devils whose baleful chi had reached a certain level would have blood flames appear on their bodies when they released their baleful chi. When the cultivators outside the barrier saw the blood flames on Ningfan's body, all of them were shocked. They could not feel how strong Ningfan's baleful chi was at all. They could only guess with their imagination. At this moment, even Mu Tu held his breath and stared at Ningfan in disbelief. Blood flames. It's actually blood flames. This young man is just a ghost profound realm cultivator. How can he cultivate blood flames? Humph. Could it be that this blood flames are just some kind of profound illusion technique that deceived our eyes? Mutu thought gloomily. After the initial shock, many old monsters also felt that Ningfan's blood flames were too unreal. They thought that it was some kind of profound illusion technique, or some kind of divine ability that was similar to blood flames. The little demoness stared blankly at the heaven and earth barrier. She could not tell whether the blood flames were real or fake. However, she could see that Ningfan was in extreme pain when activating the blood flames. That must be the real blood flames. Otherwise he wouldn't be in such pain. Sun Yan, how dare you make him suffer like this? This time, I won't let you leave Quicksand Star region alive. The little demoness' eyes were filled with frost. Her killing intent had already locked onto Sun Yan. If it wasn't because she could not break the heaven and earth barrier that Sun Yan had set up, she would have rushed into the barrier and brought Ningfan out. Sun Yan really had to suffer in silence. Being inside the heaven and earth barrier, he was the only one who could feel Ningfan's terrifying aura. If it wasn't because Ningfan's cultivation base was too low to control such a powerful baleful qi, how could he be Ningfan's opponent? If Ningfan had the cultivation base of the peak-crossing true realm, he would probably be able to condense his baleful qi into a fist and kill all the cultivators under the barrier. Even though Ningfan was still unable to control this baleful qi as he wished, Sun Yan was already heavily suppressed by it. His qi was already in a mess and he could only use 30% of his magic power. At this moment, even though Sun Yan was still at the peak ghost profound realm, his strength was far weaker than Du Jun's. At this moment, fear towards Ningfan rose in Sun Yan's heart for the first time. He wanted to use a technique to remove the heaven and earth barrier. However, because his qi was in a mess, the amount of magic power he could use was too little, and it was not enough to remove the barrier. He finally understood what Ningfan meant by getting caught in his own trap. This heaven and earth barrier was the grave that he dug for himself. Ningfan, you can't kill me. You are just an ordinary disciple of the Slaughter Palace, while I am one of the 300 disciples of one of the two great emperors of the Godly Void Pavilion, Great Emperor Shen Kong. If you kill me, perhaps Great Emperor Shen Kong will not do anything to you because of his identity. However, the 300 disciples under him will definitely see you as a great enemy. You must be eliminated. On the contrary, if you let me go today and draw a clear line between you and Xiao Qianxi, I can swear on my great heart devil oath that I will certainly recommend you to Great Emperor Shen Kong. If you can become one of the 300 disciples of Shen Kong, your future will be limitless. Sun Yan told Ningfan these words through telepathy. It was a threat and a plea for mercy. How could he have the face to let others hear such shameful words of begging for mercy? As soon as he heard Sun Yan's half-threatening and half-begging words, Ningfan's eyes turned cold, and the coldness in his eyes became even more intense. He could tell that Sun Yan had a powerful background. He actually had a dignified immortal emperor as his backer. Great Emperor Shen Kong was one of the Divine Void Two Emperors. His cultivation base was already at the peak of the 8th tribulation of the Eternal Era. His prestige shook the entire Eastern Heaven. How could Ningfan not know about him? As one of the 300 disciples of Shen Kong, Sun Yan's identity was not to be underestimated. Perhaps even some Shikong old monsters would take a detour when they see Sun Yan. Unfortunately, even though Ningfan knew Sun Yan's background, he did not plan to let him go. This Sun Yan's words were directed at little demoness. Even if he was willing to recommend Ningfan to Great Emperor Shen Kong, he must first draw a clear line between him and little demoness. It was not difficult for Ningfan to guess that Sun Yan and even Great Emperor Shen Kong, who was behind him, were probably not on good terms with little demoness. Since Sun Yan was little demoness' enemy, he was also Ningfan's enemy. So what if Ningfan kills Sun Yan? Noisy. At this moment, Ningfan was enduring the intense pain of his body being burned by the blood flames. His devil eyes, however, were cold. His expression changed and the Tao image appeared. The Tao image turned into the Big Dipper. The barrier could trap Ningfan's body, but it could not trap Ningfan's Tao. That Tao image descended upon Flowing Sand Realm once again, turning the entire realm into the dark night. The Big Dipper constellation appeared in the sky. It's this Tao image again. Mutu's eyes turned solemn. This is the Tao image. Little Fan Fan has actually succeeded in attaining his Tao. Little Demoness was once again amazed by Ning Fan. Her black eyes sparkled. There had never been a man who could make her feel so spirited and energetic again and again. What a strong Tao image. The true immortals of the Godly Void Pavilion had all attained their Tao and condensed their Tao images. However, no one else's Tao image had such boundless and majestic aura like Ning Fan's. At this moment, Ning Fan was wearing white robes, but he was walking in the dark night. He wanted to drown the entire world with his devil sense and guide the people of the world with his Tao sense. He walked towards Sun Yan step by step. Sun Yan's entire body was trembling. However, he bit the tip of his tongue forcefully and used the pain to recover some of his battle intent. He knew that Ning Fan was not going to let him go. He, Sun Yan, was not a coward. Since the hatred between them could not be reconciled, he did not mind fighting to the death with Ning Fan. True technique, body freezing technique. True technique, divine space finger. At this moment, Sun Yan ignited his primordial spirit. At this moment, Sun Yan pointed both of his index fingers at the same time, activating two great techniques at the same time. These two techniques were personally taught by Great Emperor Shen Kong. The former was the simplified version of the Lost Eastern Heaven Ancestral Technique, the Heaven Freezing Technique. The latter was the simplified version of Great Emperor Shen Kong's strongest technique, the Void Destruction Finger. If Sun Yan still had 100% of his magic power, he could freeze all cultivators below Duzhen with a single finger. A single finger of the Divine Space Finger was enough to severely injure Duzhen, who was at the same level as him. Unfortunately, he could only use 30% of his magic power at the moment. The destructive power of these two techniques was pitifully weak. Body Freezing Technique. Divine Space Finger. Sun Yan actually used two of his trump cards at the same time while facing Gui Xian. If he uses two fingers at the same time, he will definitely suffer a heavy backlash. Does he not want to live anymore? Many Divine Void Realm cultivators who knew about Sun Yan exclaimed in shock. Worry flashed across the eyes of the little demoness. However, at the next moment, she shook her head and wiped away the worry in her heart. Little Fan Fan will not lose to Sun Yan. I believe in him. The little demoness said firmly. The moment Sun Yan used the body freezing technique, Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. To his surprise, he was not frozen at all. How could Sun Yan's fake ancestral technique stop the cultivator of the heaven sealing technique, Ning Fan? That divine space finger, on the other hand, was so sharp and overbearing that Ning Fan did not dare to underestimate it. One could imagine how tyrannical the person who created this finger must have been. Sun Yan couldn't create this finger. Even if one cultivated this finger, one would not be able to comprehend the state of mind of this finger. The will of heaven. The devil sense dispersed and the Tao sense remained. The blood-red light in Ning Fan's eyes instantly turned into heaven-clinging will. As he raised his hands, 7 palms merged into one. A palm blotted out the sky, and a huge black and white palm descended from the 9 heavens Milky Way. With just one palm, the divine void finger was smashed into dust. The palm print did not slow down and slapped towards Sun Yan horizontally. The wind from the palm hit Sun Yan's face, causing him to feel pain. He had forcefully activated 2 great divine abilities, but the backlash was too severe. He couldn't use a third method to protect himself for a moment. When he saw that the fixed body technique could not stop Ning Fan, he became even more terrified. When he saw that the divine void finger was broken by Ning Fan, he felt even more despair. He felt like he was paralyzed. He could not move because of the backlash. It was just an instant, but it felt longer than a century. His long train of thoughts turned into nothingness the moment the palm print neared him. Boom! As the palm fell, the flowing sand realm trembled uncontrollably. The rumbling sound spread to every sand dune in this realm. Ning Fan dispersed his Tao image and crushed the broken barrier with a stomp. His eyes were like a devil's. As for Sun Yan, he had already fallen. Duzhen execution. There's no more updates. Let's wash up and sleep. Chapter 772. Sun Yan, one of the 300 disciples of great Emperor Shikong who was a true immortal realm expert, actually died in the hands of a life immortal realm expert. Ning Fan. Be it the cultivators of the Quicksand clan, the Alliance or the Godly Void Pavilion, all of them were looking at the sky with varying degrees of shock on their faces. Ning Fan originally wanted to search Sun Yan's soul, but he found out that his sea of consciousness had a special restriction which prevented him from reading his memories. He gave up on the idea of searching Sun Yan's soul, and raised his hand to destroy and seal Sun Yan's primordial spirit, keeping it in his soul pouch. At the place where Sun Yan died, a scarlet Dao light flashed and condensed into a red Dao fruit. Truth Purification Dao Fruit. The price of a Truth Purification Dao fruit was around 100 billion Dao crystals, and it was usually priceless. After the Truth Purification Dao fruit took shape, countless old monsters showed greed and passion in their eyes, but none of them dared to snatch it. Mutu did not dare to make a move. The true immortal deity of the godly void realm would not make a move. The three early true immortals of the Alliance knew that they did not have the strength to snatch the Dao fruit from Ning Fan's hands. After killing Sun Yan, the strength that Ning Fan displayed was comparable to a true early true crossing realm expert. His strength was already comparable to the true crossing realm without any external help. Moreover, the three true crossing realm experts also knew that Ning Fan had a powerful trump card which was the Spirit Blast technique. Only people like Sun Yan who thought highly of themselves would dare to attack Ning Fan. Sun Yan was the disciple of an immortal emperor, who was protected by him. In the past, even when he met Shikong, he still behaved arrogantly. Before he made his move, he did not ask for too much information about Ning Fan, and he did not put Ning Fan, who was only at the early ghost profound realm, in his eyes. He had just advanced to the true crossing realm, and his cultivation base had yet to stabilize. Ning Fan was probably the strongest person in the entire eastern heaven below true crossing realm. His background might not necessarily be stronger than Ning Fan's. His magic power might not be much stronger than Ning Fan's. Moreover, his Dao was far weaker than Ning Fan's. Ning Fan had his own Dao. The difference between him and Sun Yan was not huge. It was not surprising that Sun Yan died in Ning Fan's hands. Sun Yan was just a weak cultivator among those at the early cross-truth realm. Ning Fan might be able to kill him, but it did not mean that he could kill other early cross-truth realm cultivators. After keeping the Truth Purification Dao fruit and Sun Yan's storage pouch, Ning Fan was able to kill him. Then Ning Fan swallowed a pill to recover his magic power. Step by step, he walked towards the little demon girl. As soon as the cultivators of the Quicksand clan saw Ning Fan walking towards them, they retreated to the side as if they were avoiding a tiger or a wolf. None of them dared to be dissatisfied with Ning Fan anymore. None of them dared to mention the matter of Ning Fan slaughtering the members of the Quicksand clan. Among the cultivators of the Alliance, there were still a few who were not convinced that Ning Fan had become the leader of the Alliance. However, after he killed Sun Yan, no one dared to say that he was not qualified to be the leader of the Alliance. Since he was able to kill Sun Yan, even though he had yet to break through to the Duzhen realm, his status was already on par with Duzhen. Seeing Ning Fan walking towards her, the demoness immediately greeted him with a smile. I didn't expect my husband to be so powerful. You could even kill Sun Yan. That Sun Yan was one of the 300 disciples of great Emperor Shikong. I'm afraid that you will attract a lot of trouble by killing him. Although she was smiling, there was a hint of worry in her tone. Ning Fan answered indifferently. So what if he caused trouble? How many troubles had he caused before? Great Emperor Shikong was a dignified immortal emperor. Due to his status, it was naturally impossible for him to personally make things difficult for Ning Fan. The time of an immortal emperor was extremely precious. How could he waste it on a junior in the ghost profound realm? Therefore, even if Great Emperor Shikong sends people to deal with Ning Fan, he would at most send Du Zhen and Shikong. Ning Fan was naturally not afraid of them. My husband, do you know about the two divine void emperors? The demoness' beautiful eyes flashed and she asked using telepathy. I do. There are two great emperors in the godly void pavilion. One of them is Great Emperor Shikong while the other one is Void Emperor. Ning Fan replied using telepathy when he saw the demonist's serious expression. Sun Yan is one of the 300 disciples of great Emperor Shen Kong. As for me, I am one of the 300 disciples of Void Emperor. Moreover, I have the identity of the young master of the godly Void Pavilion. Shen Kong and Void Emperor have always been on bad terms. You killed Sun Yan, but I can protect you. The demonist's eyes turned serious, which was rare for her. She was trying to make Ning Fan believe that she could help him settle his troubles. Even though Ning Fan didn't need the little demonist's protection, he was still very grateful for her kind intentions. The commotion caused by Sun Yan's death gradually calmed down. The group of cultivators entered the Golden Palace again and began to discuss the matters regarding the Demon Annihilation War. Mu Tu argued with the little seductress a few times, but seeing that he could not win against her, he could only agree to all of the little seductress's strategies. Among the cultivators of the Alliance and the Quicksand tribe, many of them were chosen as bait to draw out the main force of the monster horde. Once the 13 Fey Lords appeared, the experts of the Godly Void Pavilion would appear and be responsible for exterminating the 13 Fey Lords. The only ones that needed to be taken seriously in this demon tide were the 13 Demon Lords. With the death of the 13 crossing truth ferocious demons, there was no need to fear the rest. The 13 Fiend Sovereigns rarely left the Quicksand Star Ocean. In order to lure the 13 Fiend Sovereigns out of the Quicksand Star Ocean, there had to be enough bait. Mu Tu was the leader of the Quicksand tribe, so he naturally could not be used as bait. The other 3 leaders of the Duzhen Alliance had all become the bait. Even Ning Fan, who was the 5th leader of the Alliance, was also chosen as the bait. The little demon girl also volunteered to join the bait team. With these heavyweight baits, he should be able to lure out the 13 Demon Lords. The date of the battle was set to be a month later because the poisonous fog would only dissipate once every month in the Quicksand Star Sea. Only when the poisonous fog dissipated could the 13 Demon Lords be lured out to exterminate them. Now that the plan was set, there were many things that needed to be prepared. For 7 days in a row, Ning Fan did not see the little demon girl at all. During these 7 days, the little demon girl actually used some unknown method to find out more than 10 spies of the demon race from the Quicksand tribe and the Alliance. There were Void Fragmentation Realm experts and Life Immortal Realm experts. All of them had their Sea of Consciousness planted with a restriction, making it impossible for them to search their souls. Without a doubt, there was some kind of conspiracy going on behind this demon tide. As for what the conspiracy was, even the little demon girl and Ning Fan could not figure it out. Originally, Ning Fan wanted to ask the little demon girl some questions. However, she had been busy for 7 days and did not show up at all. Thus, he had no choice but to temporarily keep the questions in his mind. During these 7 days, Ning Fan stayed in the profound Yin world and refined all of the primordial spirits of Sun Yan and the other experts using a secret technique. The destructive power of his deity blast technique had greatly increased. The Joss flame power that he stole from the temple of the Quicksand tribe was completely refined by Ning Fan. The total amount of Joss flame power that he stole this time was slightly more than the Joss flame power of the Yao clan's progenitor. Unfortunately, the total amount of Joss flame power could only increase Ning Fan's magic power by a few %. It was still not enough for him to break through to the mid-ghost profound realm. The amount of magic power needed to break through to the mid-ghost profound realm was too massive. If the amount of Joss flame power was 3 times more, Ning Fan could try to break through to the next realm. Every small step of the second step required thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of years of bitter cultivation. Even though the Joss flame power was a shortcut to increase one's cultivation base, it was not omnipotent. The mid-ghost profound realm is still very far away. On the 8th day, Ning Fan left the profound Yin world with a sway of his body. In the outside world, the night was as cold as water. As soon as Ning Fan returned to the temporary imperial residence in the outside world, he sensed a soft breathing sound coming from his room. Ning Fan walked past the screen and approached his bed to take a look. He saw a young lady in black robes sleeping on his bed with her clothes on. Her face under the light veil carried a lot of exhaustion. That lady was none other than the little demon girl who had been busy for 7 days. As soon as she was done with her work, She came to bother Ningfan. She was not in a deep sleep, but her alertness was very good. She woke up the moment Ningfan entered the room, but she was too lazy to open her eyes. Sensing Ningfan's approach, the corners of the demoness mouth slightly hooked into an arc. She gave a naughty smile as if she was still in a deep sleep. She casually flipped her body, causing her light muslin robe to slip off her shoulder, revealing her snow-white shoulders and chest. Such a bad sleeping posture. Ningfan's eyes swept across the little demon girl's exposed snow-white skin, and helplessly shook his head. He pulled the thin quilt and covered her body. Just as he was about to leave the room, the little demon girl rubbed her sleepy eyes and sat up on the bed. She stretched comfortably, and no longer pretended to be asleep. She originally wanted to show her body and tease Ningfan, but she didn't expect that Ningfan's will be too strong and would not be seduced at all. I heard from Elder Luo that my husband is looking for me? The little demon girl asked with a smile. Elder Luo was the Peak Crossing Truth Realm cultivator, who followed the little demon girl here. Yes. There is something wrong with that Mu Tuesday. Be careful. If I am not wrong, he is hiding his cultivation. His real cultivation is shedding void early. Shedding void early. So it is like this. Hearing this, the little demon girl was slightly surprised at first. Then her delicate eyebrows knitted tightly with a very dignified expression. After a long time, the little demon girl finally relaxed her eyebrows. She flipped her hand, and a teacup appeared out of nowhere. She tasted the spiritual tea and smiled at Ningfan. You are concerned about me? I cannot be concerned about you. During the life and death tribulation, we were a real husband and wife. A day as husband and wife means endless love for the rest of our lives. Ningfan smilingly asked. Cough cough cough. Hearing Ningfan mention the life and death tribulation, the little demon girl almost choked to death on the tea. Even with her thick skin, her ears couldn't help but feel slightly hot. During the life and death tribulation, she and Hongyi had served Ningfan more than once, although it was only an illusion. But her relationship with Ningfan was no longer pure. The night wind blew into the window, and the atmosphere suddenly became a little ambiguous and awkward. Seeing that the little demon girl would also feel shy, Ningfan smiled and changed the topic. Is there any grudge between the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor and the Godly Void Pavilion? You once said that because I am the descendant of the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor, you will pester me. Because I am the descendant of the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor, there will be a battle between you and I. That day, when you publicly announce my identity as the descendant of the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor, all the cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion changed their expressions. I want to know the reason. You really want to know? The little demon girl smiled slyly. Yes. This is one of the secrets of the Godly Void Pavilion. It cannot be leaked, but if you want to know, I will naturally tell you in secret. However, there is a question I want to ask you first. Do you still remember the third favor you owe me that you have yet to return? Remember, if you have thought of the third thing you want me to do, you can tell me and I will fulfill your wish. Ningfan honestly said. Hehe, I really did not choose the wrong person. I have not thought of the third thing yet, but I will tell you when I have thought of it. Now, I will tell you about the relationship between the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor and my Godly Void ancestor. Having said that, the little demon girl hugged her knees and sat up. As the night wind blew, the hem of her skirt slightly tilted, revealing her pure white ankles and delicate snow-white feet. The ancient Chaos Grand Emperor and the Godly Void ancestor were both enemies and friends. However, the Godly Void ancestor developed feelings for the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor. This feeling naturally could not be reciprocated. Later on, the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor fell in a great battle. Afterwards, the Godly Void ancestor lived alone for the rest of his life. The Godly Void ancestor had a final wish. If the descendant of the Godly Void ancestor met the descendant of the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor, they would either be entangled with each other for the rest of their lives and fulfill their long-cherished wish, or they would have a battle of life and death. Even if they could not be together, they must at least prove that the Godly Void ancestor is not weaker than the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor. When I was in the lower realm, I met your master's wife. She is the wife of Han Yuanji. She has the yin-yang devil vein, and has a very high understanding of this devil vein. She can be considered as the successor of ancient chaos. She is a woman and I am also a woman. Both of us can't stay together for the rest of our lives. Therefore, we can only fight to the death. Initially, I wanted to wait until her cultivation base was higher before fighting her to the death. Unexpectedly, Han Yuanji was careless and caused her to be half dead. Therefore, I temporarily stayed in Yu country of the Rain World. In order to save her, Han Yuanji had to find another successor of ancient chaos. He found you and I found you. Hehe, do you want to be with me for the rest of your life, or do you want to fight to the death with me? After the little demon girl smiled, her pretty face turned serious, and she looked very serious. From beginning to end, Ning Fan's did not say a word as he listened to the little demoness story. When he heard the little demon girl's question, he laughed and shook his head. There was no need to answer this question. He would not become enemies with the little demon girl, nor would he fight to the death with her. It's not bad to be obsessed with her for a lifetime, although this woman is really annoying at times. If you don't say anything, I'll take it that you're willing to be with me forever. I didn't use the third condition to force you. The little demon girl smiled slyly. All right. Ning Fan nodded and continued. Rumor has it that the Godly Void Pavilion has two forbidden areas. One is the Tomb of the Gods, which is known as the Godly Tomb. There are countless fiend gods' inheritances inside. The other is the Void Heavenly Prison, which is known as the Heavenly Prison. There are countless serious criminals of the Eastern Heaven imprisoned there. You want to enter the Godly Tomb? For the second inheritance of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor, Chaotic Loop Arts? The little demon girl looked at Ning Fan with a smile and immediately guessed his thoughts. Yes. Ning Fan was startled, but he did not deny it. The Godly Tomb has a total of 9 floors. The first 3 floors contain many 1-star to 3-star fiend gods' inheritances. They are open to all cultivators of the 4 heavens. Anyone can enter as long as they pay enough Dao crystals to find the fiend gods' cultivation methods they want. The 4th to 6th floors contain many 4-star to 6-star fiend gods' inheritances. They are only open to the cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion, and require sect contribution points to enter. The 7th to 9th floors contain the 7-star and above fiend gods' inheritances. Even I only have the qualifications to enter that kind of important place once to obtain the complete inheritance of the Void Scripture. You can't enter, unless you. The little demon girl sighed softly and did not continue. The Chaotic Loop Arts was a 9-star fiend god's cultivation method. It was the strongest defensive technique of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor. This inheritance must be hidden below the 7th floor. Ning Fan could not enter that floor, unless Ning Fan asked. Unless what? The 2 Divine Void Emperors each control a forbidden area in my Godly Void Pavilion. The Divine Void Great Emperor controls the Godly Tomb while the Void Great Emperor controls the Heavenly Prison. Unless you gain the favor of the Divine Void Great Emperor, and are allowed to enter the 7th floor or possess the Primogenitor's token, the Godly Void token, you won't be able to enter the 7th floor even if you have the cultivation base of an immortal emperor. The little demon girl's eyes revealed a hint of guilt. If she did not call Ning Fan husband, Sun Yan would not have come to find trouble with Ning Fan, and Ning Fan would not have to kill Sun Yan and offend the Divine Void Great Emperor. Perhaps she could use her own means to make the Divine Void Great Emperor not pursue Ning Fan's responsibility. Unfortunately, she definitely did not have any means to make the Divine Void Great Emperor favor Ning Fan and allow him to enter the bottom floor of the Divine Tomb. After hearing her words, Ning Fan frowned and sighed. Without the permission of the Divine Void Great Emperor, I can't enter the bottom floor of the Divine Tomb to search for the inheritance of the Chaotic Loop Arts. What a pity. If you draw a clear line between us or become my enemy, chop off my head and send it to the Divine Void Great Emperor. He will probably have a good impression of you, the little demon girl giggled. Ning Fan looked at the little demon girl speechlessly. Why would he chop off her head and bend his knees for glory just for a cultivation method? There are still more than 20 days before the great battle begins. Before that, you should have a good rest. I'm afraid you will be very busy after that. I'll take my leave first. Ning Fan turned around and was about to leave. From the looks of it, he wanted to send his temporary residence to the little demon girl to rest. Seeing Ningfan's calm expression, the little demon girl smiled proudly. She knew that she was not wrong about him. How could Ningfan be someone who would betray his own heart for benefits? He was too stubborn. There were very few things in this world that could make him bend his knees and lower his head. Wait. My husband also needs to be careful of Mutu. He might not only be an early shedding void expert, he might be very dangerous. Just as Ningfan was about to step out of the room, the little demon girl suddenly warned him. All right, I will be careful. In the quicksand world, Mutu was leaning on the golden scepter, standing in the boundless darkness of the desert. In this place where no one noticed, his turbid eyes gradually revealed a hint of madness. The people of the Divine Void Pavilion have already caught up. This old man doesn't have much time left. The operation needs to be brought forward. Senior brother, this time you are really wrong. You are wrong. This time, I must destroy the Divine Void Pavilion and the Heavenly Prison. Qinyu, I will let you see the prosperity of the Eastern Heaven immortal world again. The heaven-suppressing bell that is restraining you, I will personally destroy it. Whoever stands in my way will die. Chapter 773. Ningfan walked out of the Golden City and stood on a sand dune for a long time, comprehending the great Tao of time of this place. However, a hint of worry flashed across his eyes. The little demon girl's reminder made his heart feel heavy. When the little demon girl said that Mutu was dangerous, she meant that Mutu was not as simple as he was in the early stages of shedding void. Maybe this Mutu is really more dangerous than I thought. The smart thing to do is to give up the opportunity in the ancient god's cave of time and leave Quicksand Galaxy to escape this dangerous place. But I can't leave. Ningfan let out a soft sigh. According to his personality, he would not risk his life for an unknown fortune. According to his personality, he knew that Mutu was still hiding something. He should leave the Quicksand Star region as soon as possible to avoid being dragged into danger. Now that the little enchantress had arrived at the Quicksand Galaxy, she would not leave until she had dealt with the demon horde. Ningfan could not bring himself to leave the little demoness alone in this dangerous place. There are still 2 more jade slips given by the killing emperor. If there's no other choice, I might have to use the jade slips to eliminate Mutu. Ningfan's heart gradually calmed down. He closed his eyes and became one with the night sky and the great Tao of this place. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, he stood there for half a month. That day, when he left the east, a messenger flying sword arrived. It was Mutu's message. In another 7 days, the poisonous fog of the Quicksand Star Ocean would dissipate. It was time to depart for the North Quicksand Star Ocean, where the demon tide was wreaking havoc. It was going to be a great battle. None of the 13 demon monarchs were ordinary people. To Ningfan, a battle of this level was still too early. Naturally, if he released the Shedding Void puppet, the 13 demon lords would not be afraid. The troublesome thing was that the person he needed to be wary of wasn't the 13 monster lords, but the mysterious Mutuesday. Exposing his trump card in front of Mutu was not a wise move. Forget it. In this battle, I will at most follow behind him, and will not make a move. Once the wave of demons was quelled, he would immediately leave Quicksand Galaxy. No matter what Mutu is plotting, I don't want to be involved in this conspiracy. I also don't want her to be involved. Ningfan muttered to himself. The little demon girl's mission was to pacify the Quicksand demons. The only thing he could do now was to try his best to leave the Quicksand Star region safely with the little demoness after the chaos caused by the demons was settled. In Flowing Sand Realm, the cultivator army was ready to go. As the bait to lure the snake out of its hole, Ningfan and the others took the lead and left the Flowing Sand Realm. Other than Ningfan, the little demoness and the 3 Duzhuns of the Alliance who acted as the bait, there were another 50 life Immortal Realm cultivators who were chosen as the bait. 3 Duzhun from the Alliance steered an enormous purple-red star boat towards the northern domain at full speed, carrying a group of cultivators. Ning Fan and the little demoness stood side by side at the bow of the ship, looking at the broken cultivation planets in the northern region and the floating corpses in the sky. Their eyes were extremely solemn. Behind the starboat were powerful experts from the Godly Void sect, as well as the other powerful experts led by Mutu, who had concealed their auras and followed from afar. Once the Violet Star skiff was in danger, it wouldn't take them long to come to its rescue. Scattered demon beasts would attack starboats from time to time. Most of these demon beasts were at the Void Fragmentation realm. There were also quite a number of ferocious beasts at the Life Immortal realm. There was no need for Ning Fan to personally deal with these ferocious beasts. The 3 Duzhun experts stood at the prow of the starboat. Once the starboat was attacked by fierce beasts, they would activate their incantations and kill them with ease. The incantations of true immortals were fundamentally different from those of life immortals. The incantations of true immortals contained the word truth in them. By integrating their true Tao into them, the power of their incantations would increase by several times. Ning Fan could not help but admit that true immortals were very strong. He was not a match for them. Sun Yan was just an exception. He was just the weakest true immortal. He shouldn't be proud of killing Sun Yan. The Violet Starboat flew for a few days and entered the deepest part of the northern region. As soon as they entered the depths of the northern region, the 3 Duzhun experts kept the Violet Star boat. Then they were divided into 4 teams led by Ning Fan and the other 2 Alliance Masters. They set off and began to destroy the demon beast strongholds in the northern region. The little demoness's plan was to provoke the 13 demon lords and draw them out of the Quicksand Star Ocean. The poisonous mist in the Quicksand Star Ocean would only dissipate for 2 hours every month. If they recklessly enter the Quicksand Star Ocean, they would be easily trapped in the poisonous mist. It was undoubtedly safer to lure the demons out. Ning Fan stepped on a blood lotus and held the star compass in his hand. Carrying the little demoness, he flew towards the cultivation planets that were occupied by the demons. Behind him were 12 life immortals, including Kuan Yunzi and Shuekongzi. There were a total of 49 demon strongholds in the periphery of the Quicksand Star Ocean. The mission of Ning Fan's group of cultivators was to destroy 12 of the demon strongholds. These demon strongholds were not guarded by Duzhun. Naturally, they could not withstand the attack of Ning Fan and the others. The strongest demon beasts in each of the strongholds were just at the mid and late Ghost Realm. There were not many peak Ghost Realm beasts. After devouring the Joss flames of the Quicksand Star clan, Ning Fan's magic power had improved significantly even though he did not break through to the mid Ghost Realm. Compared to the time when he fought against Sun Yan, he was slightly stronger. Since he could even kill Sun Yan, it was certainly not too difficult for him to deal with a mere Ghost Realm demon beast. Every time he arrived at a demon stronghold, Ning Fan would summon the memory-severing Dao sword and set up an illusory sword formation within the territory of the entire cultivation planet. With a single move, he could eliminate all the ferocious beasts on the entire cultivation planet. Ferocious beasts who were not at the peak Ghost Realm could not withstand the illusory sword light of the memory-severing Dao sword at all. If he were to face a peak Ghost Realm ferocious beast, Ning Fan could easily kill it with a single move of his heaven-holding seal. On the first day, Ning Fan conquered 3 strongholds. On the second day he conquered 5 strongholds. On the third day, Ning Fan conquered 4 strongholds. After conquering 12 strongholds, Ning Fan killed a total of tens of thousands of ferocious beasts. These ferocious beasts would rather die than submit. Among them, there were a total of 84 ferocious beasts at the second step who would not enter the cycle of reincarnation after death. All of their remnant souls were kept into Ning Fan's spirit wheels, making the spirit wheels much more solid. Every time a stronghold was destroyed and a certain number of demonic beasts were killed, Ning Fan would feel a little uneasy. After eliminating all the strongholds, Ning Fan and the others immediately retreated to the southern region according to the plan. The act of wiping out all the demon strongholds had most likely angered the 13 demon sovereigns. There was less than a day left before the poisonous mist dissipated. When the poisonous mist dissipated, it would be the time for the 13 demon sovereigns to hunt Ning Fan and the others down. The other 3 demon sovereigns had also completed their mission of wiping out the demon strongholds. Just like Ning Fan and the others, they retreated to the direction they came from. On a desolate cultivation planet in the northern region, everyone gathered together, waiting for the upcoming battle. Ning Fan stood on the cultivation planet and waited quietly without saying a word. However, the uneasiness in his heart grew. The face of the little demoness also carried a hint of uneasiness. She also had a vague feeling that something unforeseen would happen. Time passed by. After an unknown period of time, a powerful heartbeat suddenly resounded in the desolate starry sky. Thump! Thump! Thumped at Biat Kuan Yunzi, Xue Kongzi and the other life immortals, or the 3 true immortals of the Alliance. All of them revealed an excited expression when they heard the heartbeat. It's the ancient heartbeat again. Many old monsters exclaimed in surprise. It was already the 3rd time Ning Fan had heard the heartbeat. He was not sure if it was an illusion, but he felt that the heartbeat was getting stronger and stronger each time. This time, Ning Fan once again heard the murmur of the ancient god in the midst of the heartbeat. Save me, my lord. Mercy. I don't want to die. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned cold. The uneasiness in his heart grew stronger the moment he heard the voice. This cry for help and mercy was definitely coming from the direction of the quicksand star ocean. Ning Fan was even more certain that there was a great danger in that direction. He must not go there without permission. I found it. The scoundrels of the human race are all hiding here. Kill. A furious voice that carried the aura force of an early Duzhen realm cultivator resounded from the starry sky far away. Just as the voice entered everyone's ears, before it could fade away, several rays of escaping light that were as loud as lightning bolts dashed towards them from afar. Everyone raised their heads and looked over. The incoming group consisted of nearly 100 life immortal realm ferocious beasts, led by 3 early Duzhen demon monarchs. Kill. The 3 Duzhen demon monarchs of the Alliance shouted coldly at the same time. They soared into the sky one after another, summoning their respective magic treasures and Dao weapons, and dashed towards the demon army. The enemy only had 3 early Duzhen demon monarchs, while they had 3 Duzhen demon monarchs and Ning Fan on their side. Their chances of winning were still very high. Before the group of demons got close to the cultivation planet, the 3 Duzhen demon monarchs summoned their Dao weapons and stopped 3 Duzhen demon monarchs. I, Kuang Yanzi, would like to have a taste of Purple Fox demon monarch's powerful techniques. A Duzhen demon monarch who was holding a fiery red sword laughed and stopped a Duzhen demon monarch who was wearing a purple fox fur coat. Rogue cultivator Chintanji, you overestimate yourself. Come and fight against Green Bat demon monarch. A Duzhen demon monarch who was dressed in scholarly robes smiled faintly and stood in front of a green-haired demon monarch. I am Daoist Chi Xia of the Red Cloud sect. Ghostfish demon monarch Dai. A Duzhen demon monarch who was brimming with killing intent stood in front of a 4-eyed demon monarch. The 3 Duzhen demon monarchs from the Alliance blocked 3 early Duzhen demon monarchs, while Ning Fan led 50 life immortal realm cultivators, and rushed towards the group of life immortal realm ferocious beasts. None of the ferocious beasts below the Duzhen demon monarch was a match for Ning Fan. Ning Fan raised his hand and summoned the memory-severing Dao sword. Then he set up the phantom sword formation. Each of the weaker ferocious beasts immediately lost their lives. You're courting death. When Ghostfish demon monarch saw that none of the ferocious beasts were a match for Ning Fan, his eyes flashed with anger. Black light flashed around his body. Immediately, a black-robed demon shadow that had the same appearance as him walked out of his body. This black-robed demon shadow was a clone that he had just refined. Its strength was infinitely close to the true crossing realm. As soon as the black-robed demon shadow left Ghostfish demon monarch's body, it immediately turned into a ray of traveling light and rushed towards Ning Fan. In his hand, there was a black treasure seal. When the black-robed demon shadow threw the treasure seal towards the sky, it immediately turned into tens of thousands of black meteorites and smashed towards the phantom sword formation. With a loud bang, the phantom sword formation was directly broken by the black-robed demon shadow. He managed to break the formation in time. Only 11 or 12 ferocious beasts were killed by the phantom sword formation. The rest of the ferocious beasts were more or less injured, but their lives were temporarily saved. The ferocious beasts looked at Ningfan with fear in their eyes. I didn't expect a mere early ghost profound realm cultivator to have such frightening strength. Humph! Let me be your opponent. The black-robed demon shadow raised his hand and pointed at Ningfan. The treasure seal once again turned into countless black meteorites and smashed towards Ningfan from all directions. The strength of this black-robed demon shadow was not any weaker than Sun Yan, who had his cultivation base suppressed. Those meteorites came too quickly. Ningfan only had time to summon the 3 flowers to defend himself before the meteorites landed on his Lotus Shadow's defense. Boom boom boom, each of the black meteorites was powerful enough to crush a rogue immortal to death. Even an early true crossing realm old monster would be exhausted from dealing with the thousands of meteorites. Ningfan relied on the powerful defense of the 3 flowers and the Lotus Shadow to protect himself. Thus he was not injured. Seeing that the meteorites could not hurt Ningfan, the black-robed demon shadow was slightly surprised. Then he suddenly sneered. The most powerful thing about the sky-covering black meteorites was not that they could crush their opponents to death. The black-robed demon shadow changed his hand seal, and countless black meteorites smashed on Ningfan's Lotus Shadow, stacking up on top of each other. Very soon, the black meteorites surrounded Ningfan layer by layer. Looking from afar, it looked like a small black cultivation planet. As for Ningfan, he was trapped at the center of the cultivation planet and could not get out. Quick! The black-robed demon shadow made another hand seal. The black cultivation planet immediately began to shrink towards the center. Ningfan, who was trapped at the center of the cultivation planet, gradually felt the immense pressure coming from the Lotus Shadow. The more the cultivation planet shrank, the stronger the pressure coming from the Lotus Shadow. If it wasn't because Ningfan had already cultivated the 3 flowers to the great perfection of the first flower, he would certainly be injured by this pressure. Seeing that he had trapped Ningfan with a single technique, the black-robed demon shadow smiled disdainfully. Then he turned around and wanted to kill the other human cultivators. Just as he turned around, the black cultivation planet behind him suddenly turned into ashes. In the starry sky, the shadow of a purple-black fire dragon flashed across and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The black cultivation planet that trapped Ningfan was directly incinerated by the fire dragon's breath technique. Impossible. How can an early ghost profound realm junior break my ghost fish seal? The black-robed demon shadow's expression changed. He raised his hand and waved, collecting the ashes of the meteorites that filled the sky into his palm. Then he chanted an incantation. Black light flashed on his palm, and the ashes once again condensed into a black treasure seal. This seal was his Dao weapon. Now its power was greatly reduced and it was severely damaged. He opened his mouth and swallowed the Dao weapon into his abdomen. Then his eyes flashed with ferocious light. He took a step forward and a black ocean immediately appeared beneath his feet. As he changed his hand seal, a 70,000 zhang large four-eyed ghost fish suddenly flew out from the ocean and swallowed Ningfan in a single gulp. The fish's stomach was filled with stinky poisonous mist. It had an extremely strong corrosive effect which was enough to melt a peak ghost profound realm cultivator. The Lotus Shadow circled around Ningfan's body. No poisonous mist could get close to him. With a wave of his hand, the memory-severing Dao sword appeared in his hand. When he raised his hand, 108,000 sword shadows cut a huge bloody hole on the fish's stomach. As soon as he stepped out of the fish's stomach, Ningfan lifted his finger and pointed at the sky. Black flames immediately spread crazily in the starry sky, evaporating the entire black ocean. The ghost fish that was hiding in the ocean was also burned into a ball of black chi with a sizzling sound and dissipated. The black-robed demon shadow's expression turned extremely ugly after his ability was broken once again. He wanted to activate his ability to continue fighting, but Ningfan did not give him the chance. The starlight in the starry sky suddenly disappeared, turning the sky into complete darkness. Only the 7 snow-white stars of the Big Dipper could be seen in the night sky. At this moment, Ningfan stood under the Big Dipper in the night sky. It was as if the entire world that he saw was going to sink into his Tao sense, demonizing the Dark Knight, and the Tao turning into the Big Dipper. What a strong Tao image! The black-robed demon Shadow's expression changed greatly. The expressions of the three demon lords who were fighting against the three demon lords of the Duzhen Alliance also changed drastically. Ning Fan raised his palm. Black and white rays of light flashed in the center of his palm. Almost no one in this place could see how he attacked, but a gigantic black and white palm descended from the sky and landed on the body of the black-robed demon Shadow. All of the demon Shadow's defenses collapsed under this palm imprint. Even the Tao sense of the black-robed demon Shadow was annihilated by this palm imprint. After killing the black-robed demon Shadow, Ning Fan turned around and saw the little demoness and the other Life Immortal Realm experts gradually falling into a disadvantageous position in the battle against the Life Immortal Realm ferocious beasts. 4 of their Life Immortal Realm experts had fallen. The number of their opponents' Life Immortal Realm ferocious beasts was steadily higher than theirs. The little demoness was just an early profound human realm expert. She was being suppressed in this kind of battlefield. At this moment, she was being besieged by 4 profound human realm ferocious beasts. She was in a precarious situation. She gritted her teeth slightly. When she was about to take out a life-saving jade slip from her storage pouch to activate it, her waist suddenly softened. She was already held by someone. Be careful, Ning Fan said indifferently. His eyes flickered with cold light. He raised his hand and took out the memory-severing Tao sword and activated the Phantom Sword formation. As soon as the 108,000 swords were released, a large number of ferocious beasts fell. From afar, 9 demon lords escaping lights were rushing towards them. When they saw Ning Fan's massacre, they were all enraged. There was even a voice that cursed in anger. Audacious human! How dare you slaughter my fellow demons? You're courting death. As soon as the voice fell, an intermediate truth-crossing realm sword light slashed towards Ning Fan's head. Ning Fan's eyes changed. Without saying a word, he held the little demoness and flew backwards. At the same time, he summoned the 3 flowers converging crown and millions of lotus shadows to protect his body. Unfortunately, under the attack of this intermediate truth-crossing realm cultivator, the millions of lotus shadows only lasted for a few breaths before all of them collapsed. With this period of time, Ning Fan managed to evade the attack of the sword light with the little demoness. His expression was as cold as ice. When he raised his head, he saw a bullhorn man holding a sword not far away, glaring at him. Chapter 774. The bullhorn burly man could not help but reveal a surprised look when he saw that Ning Fan, who was just an early ghost profound realm cultivator, was able to withstand the destructive power of his mid-cross truth realm sword strike. After a moment of surprise, he sneered and pointed his sword at Ning Fan. So you're the new 5th Alliance Lord of the Human Race Alliance. As soon as they heard the bullhorned muscular man's words, all the other demon lords shifted their gazes towards Ning Fan. No wonder Ning Fan is so strong that only Duzhen can fight him. It turns out that he is the 5th Alliance Lord of the Human Race Alliance. Ning Fan, be careful. This demon is very strong. He is far stronger than Sun Yan. Leaning on Ning Fan's chest, the little demoness eyes were filled with seriousness as she reminded him. Sun Yan was only in the early stage of the crossing truth realm, while the bullhorn man in front of him was in the early stage of the crossing truth realm. Even 6 or 7 Sun Yans might not be a match for the bullhorn man. Ning Fan nodded. He naturally knew that he was no match for the bullhorn burly man. Moreover, there were 8 other demon monarchs behind the bullhorn man. All of them were at least at the early stage of crossing truth realm. Altogether, there were already 12 demon monarchs here, other than the demon monarch at the peak of true crossing realm. All the other demon monarchs were here. This was no longer a battlefield that Ning Fan could control. Kuang Yanzi, Chun Tongji and Daoist Qixia, the 3 Duzhen alliances. Duzhen's faces darkened. The enemy's main force had already arrived, and their mission as bait had basically been completed. Although there was still one more demon lord that had yet to arrive, the plan could not wait any longer. The reinforcements could go to battle. The 3 Duzhuns of the Alliance activated their own abilities to fight against the monster monarchs, distancing themselves from each other. Then, the 3 of them simultaneously took out their starlight spirit arrows and shot them into the sky, sending out a signal. In the next moment, 8 enormous star boats appeared in the distant starry river. All of them were Divine Void Realm experts, Alliance cultivators, and members of the Quicksand tribe. In the Divine Void reinforcements, there were a total of 7 true immortals. In addition to Mu2, there was also the true immortal who had hidden his true cultivation. Their side only had 11 true immortals and Ningfan, while the other party had 12 demon monarchs. The bullhorned burly man sneered. Just as he was about to swing his sword and chase after Ningfan, he suddenly stopped. All of a sudden, he heard the sound of 8 star boats approaching. He looked up, and his expression flickered with astonishment and fury. Humph! I didn't expect the human cultivators to invite so many true immortals as reinforcements. From the looks of it, they have long been prepared to lure us demon lords here, wanting to fight to the death with us. Don't be afraid. No matter how many human cultivators come, we will kill them all. A slightly effeminate male voice suddenly resounded in the starry sky, carrying the pressure of the peak of crossing truth. The 13th demon lord had finally arrived. It was a purple-robed man with snake eyes. His aura was cold and sinister, and his face was painted with demonic snake tattoos. He was a demonic cultivator of the snake race. This demon was called the Qilian Demon Lord, and he was the strongest demon cultivator in this wave of demons. With the appearance of the Crimson Serpent Demon Lord, the other demon lords and ferocious beasts stopped fighting, and gathered behind him. Behind Qilian Demon Lord, there were close to 300,000 Void Fragmentation Realm ferocious beasts continuously flying towards him, and joining the battle. At the same time, the 8 star boats approached from afar. Powerful human experts jumped off the star boats one after another, and lined up in formation. Standing at the forefront was the Godly Void Pavilion's Elder Luo, who was at the peak of Duzhen Peak. Standing side by side with Elder Luo were Mu2 and the other 10 perfected immortals. Behind them, there were close to 300 life immortals and 200,000 Void Fragmentation Realm humans. Ningfan did not stand at the forefront. Instead, he brought the little demoness to stand in the middle of the group. The uneasiness in his heart grew more and more. He was no longer concerned about the outcome of this battle. There was only one thing on his mind, and that was to protect the little demon girl who was by his side. Suddenly, Mu2 turned around and his cold eyes met with Ningfan's eyes. At this moment, the corners of Mu2's mouth curled up into a mysterious smile, as if he was laughing at Ningfan's cowardice, not daring to join the Battle of Duzhen. At the same time, it seemed like he was laughing at Ningfan for not being able to escape from his scheme. Ningfan, I have a bad premonition. We need to leave Quicksand Star region immediately. The little demoness gently broke free from Ningfan's embrace, and stood beside him with a frown. It's too late. Ningfan's eyes were filled with the azure rain intent. The endless drizzle extended to the distant starry sky. His brows were tightly knitted together. Using the heaven-peering rain technique, he extended his spirit sense to the northern border of Quicksand Star region. Ningfan discovered that the domain-locking grand formation at the border of Quicksand Star region was opening bit by bit. It was the domain-locking grand formation of a high-grade star region. Once the grand formation is opened, even Shikong would not be able to break through and enter the star region by force. Moreover, it was unknown why the power of the grand formation was still increasing. Perhaps it would be upgraded to the level of the star region locking grand formation of the Imperial Star region in no time. At that time, no one would be able to break the grand formation and enter Quicksand Star region, unless they are immortal emperors. Little friend Ning, when the battle starts later, please protect the mistress well. Don't let her get hurt. Elder Luo suddenly turned around and transmitted his voice to Ningfan. His expression showed a rare hint of politeness. When the battle starts, he would have to fight the Qilian Demon Lord who was at the peak of Duzhen realm. He was afraid that he would not have the time to protect the little demoness. He noticed Ningfan's vague intention to avoid the battle. He knew that Ningfan would not be entangled with the Duzhen Demon Lord. Thus, he entrusted the task of protecting the little demoness to Ning Fan. "Don't worry, Elder Luo. I won't let anything happen to her." Ning Fan nodded and said nothing else. "Thank you." Elder Luo nodded with satisfaction. He turned around and stared at the Qi Lian demon lord coldly. His aura force rose sharply and his white hair fluttered in the wind. At the moment when his aura force rose to its peak, he suddenly let out a loud roar. "Kill!" As soon as his voice fell, Elder Luo took the lead and rushed towards the Qi Lian demon lord with the Dao weapon in his hand. The army of over 200,000 cultivators behind him also rushed towards the army of demonic beasts. The corner of the Qi Lian demon lord's mouth rose slightly with a hint of disdain. With a wave of his hand, the army of demonic beasts behind him also rushed towards the army of human cultivators. As for himself, he turned into a ray of traveling light. A red light condensed in his palm and rushed towards Elder Luo. The other demon lords also fought against the true immortals of the human race. Most of the true immortals of the human race and the demon lords of the demon race fought one-on-one. Only a late true immortal of the godly void pavilion, who was half a step away from the peak of Duzhen realm, fought against 3 demon lords alone. The battle between the demon lords was temporarily evenly matched. The battle between the void fragmentation realm humans and the demonic beasts was the fiercest. The battle had only lasted for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, but nearly 10,000 cultivators and demonic beasts had already fallen. The stench of blood swept across the starry sky. Mutilated corpses and flesh flew everywhere. The battle between life immortals was not considered fierce, but there were still cultivators and demonic beasts who died from time to time. Ning Fan was protecting the little demoness while being surrounded by 6-peak ghost realm ferocious beasts. It was naturally not easy to deal with the 6-peak ghost realm demonic beasts attacking him at the same time. He had already used the heaven-holding seal once. Half of his magic power had been consumed, and it had yet to recover. He could not use the heaven-holding seal again. Otherwise, his magic power would be completely depleted. If he did not use the heaven-holding seal, it would not be easy for him to kill the peak ghost realm demonic beasts, let alone fighting against 6 of them alone. The bodies of the 6 ferocious beasts were as huge as a low-grade cultivation planet. The power of the combined attack of the 6 beasts was not any weaker than a single attack of Duzhen. Ning Fan spread out 1,000,000 lotus shadows to protect his body and the little demoness within them. One of his hands controlled the memory-severing Dao sword to form an illusory sword formation to attack the 6 beasts. His other hand would occasionally take out 1 or 2 offensive jade slips and forbidden technique jade slips to attack the group of beasts. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ning Fan killed the first peak ghost realm giant beast. After the time it takes for another incense stick to burn, Ning Fan killed another 2 giant beasts. After killing 3 giant beasts in a row, Ning Fan took out all the life immortal realm offensive jade slips that he had. Countless abilities were thrown at the 3 giant beasts. All of them let out a miserable wail and died. 6 peak ghost realm ferocious beasts had died in Ning Fan's hands. The 6 ferocious beasts had died tragically. Before Ning Fan could collect their remnant souls, beast corpses and demon cores, all of them had mysteriously disappeared in the starry sky. Only now did Ning Fan have the time to observe the entire battlefield. Only now did he realize that every time there was a casualty on the battlefield, the corpses of the deceased would mysteriously disappear in the starry sky. More and more cultivators and ferocious beasts died on the battlefield. More and more corpses disappeared in the starry sky. Dao fruits, storage pouches, broken pieces of magic treasures. Not only the corpses, but all of them were also mysteriously disappearing. The strangeness of this matter was far beyond Ning Fan and the little demoness understanding. Gradually, many people noticed this strange phenomenon, but no one could understand why it was happening. Gradually, some of the cultivators and demonic beasts who were fighting each other let out a miserable wail and disappeared from the starry sky. Elder Luo, I have a very bad premonition. We can't continue this battle. A true immortal of the godly void pavilion was fighting against a demon lord while transmitting his voice to Elder Luo. Let's retreat for now. Elder Luo nodded his head with a solemn expression. He had also noticed the strangeness of the battlefield. It was his first time seeing corpses vanishing into thin air. It was even more strange and unsettling for a living person to vanish directly. Qilian Demon Lord, who was fighting against Elder Luo, also frowned, and a sense of uneasiness rose in his heart. Qilian Demon Lord. Something is not right. The 12 Ghost Realm demonic beasts under my command have vanished into thin air. This battle is too strange. We can't continue this battle. A winged demon lord said in an agitated tone, and transmitted his voice to Qilian Demon Lord. We can't continue this battle. Quickly give the order to retreat to Quicksand Star Sea. As soon as Qilian's words fell, his eyes were filled with shock. He saw that the winged demon lord who had transmitted his voice to him suddenly let out a miserable shriek and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. A thick murderous aura immediately spread in all directions, announcing the death of this demon lord. On the demon race's side, the first demon lord to die actually died in such a strange way. How could this be? Qilian Demon Lord's eyes were filled with shock. The human race cultivators were also shocked. At the same time when the winged demon lord died, on the human race's side, the alliance leader Kuang Yanzi suddenly let out a miserable shriek and disappeared in front of everyone. The corner of Mutu's mouth curled into a cold smile. He sent the demon lord flying with a palm strike and stood in the air, watching the strange scene in front of him coldly. His figure swayed and suddenly disappeared before everyone's eyes. No one knew where he went. At the moment when Mutu disappeared, the entire starry sky of Quicksand Star Sea suddenly trembled violently. At this moment, a huge black hole suddenly appeared in the starry sky of Quicksand Star Sea. That black hole spread out from the direction of Quicksand Star Sea and extended to the entire Quicksand Star Sea at a shocking speed. At this moment, tens of thousands of cultivation planets in Quicksand Star Sea were sinking into the black hole one by one. On the cultivation planets of the southern region, there were still many mortals and cultivators living there. At the moment when the cultivation planets were sinking into the black hole of the Star Sea, countless cultivators and mortals on the cultivation planets screamed and lost their lives. On the battlefield, the Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators and Void Fragmentation Realm ferocious beasts were sucked away by the black hole one after another. A black hole that spanned across the entire Star Sea was too eerie and terrifying. A strong suction force was emitted from the black hole. Gradually, even life immortal realm cultivators began to be sucked into the black hole. Countless shocked exclamations immediately spread across the entire battlefield, accompanied by the fearful roars of beasts. Be it the true immortals of the human race or the demon lords of the demon race, none of them had a good expression on their faces at this moment. The suction force of the black hole under their feet was too strong. Even the true immortals like them found it hard to resist that suction force. The higher one's cultivation base was, the greater the suction force they had to withstand. Thump, thump, thump. The heartbeats of ancient gods could be heard from the black hole. Every time a cultivator or a ferocious beast was sucked into the black hole, the heartbeats would become stronger and stronger. Ning Fan hugged the little demoness tightly and looked at the huge black hole under his feet. His heart was filled with waves of shock. The devouring ability of this black hole was very similar to the spatial vortex technique. However, it was worlds apart from the spatial vortex technique. More and more life immortals began to be sucked into the black hole and lost their lives. Ning Fan circulated his magic power to the maximum to resist the endless suction force from the black hole. The little demoness stared at the black hole with her black gem-like eyes filled with shock, and said in a trembling voice, This is one of the strongest divine abilities recorded in the Void Scripture. The Star River Burial Technique. Once this technique is activated, it can devour and bury the entire starry sky. Even the strongest cultivator of the Void Scripture, the Void Sovereign, hasn't mastered this technique. The only person who can use this technique is also locked up in the heavenly prison, who is actually using this technique. It's me. A cold voice suddenly resounded from the black hole. This voice carried the aura of the fifth eternal tribulation. It was not any weaker than the great elder of the Slaughter Palace, the Dark Sea Immortal King. This voice carried a boundless aura that swept across the entire quicksand star region. The moment they sensed the aura of the fifth tribulation immortal king, all the humans and demons revealed an expression of extreme fear. 3 rays of light flashed out from the black hole, and turned into 3 figures, standing on the peak of the starry sky. Among the 3 of them, the one on the left was Mu Tuesday. He had completely unleashed his early Shidong Void Realm cultivation base. At this moment, he was no longer afraid of exposing his identity. The one on the right was a heavenly deity, who shone with dazzling golden light. He was also an early Shidong Void Realm cultivator. His entire body was bound by chains and his eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. The one standing in the middle was a man in blood-red armor. His red hair danced wildly in the starry sky. His eyes were as cold as ice and the left side of his face was covered with blood-red runes. The moment the red-haired man appeared, the little demoness, Elder Luo and the other cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion revealed an extremely shocked expression. Especially Elder Luo. He was trembling and roaring. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. You should still be imprisoned in the heavenly prison. How is it possible for you to escape? Escape? I didn't escape from the heavenly prison. I entered the heavenly prison on my own accord. No one can stop me from leaving the heavenly prison. The red-haired man revealed a sinister smile. His smile carried a domineering and arrogant aura that looked down on the entire world. 45 million years ago, he rebelled against the Divine Void Pavilion and entered the heavenly prison on his own accord. In the current Godly Void Pavilion, there were very few people who knew what his purpose was. Moreover, there were very few people who knew that he entered the heavenly prison on his own accord. He was one of the 3 greatest criminals in the entire heavenly prison. The Divine Void Emperor and the Divine Void Emperor had personally planted a seal on him, not allowing him to escape from the heavenly prison. However, he still managed to escape secretly. This time, the reason why he left the heavenly prison was to find a kind of power to completely destroy the heavenly prison. Mutu was his 2nd primordial spirit. That golden-armored heavenly god was his 3rd primordial spirit. Who is this person? Ning Fan looked at the red-haired immortal king, and a great sense of danger rose in his heart. He is the Sun Luo immortal king, the junior brother of the Void Emperor. He is one of the 3 greatest criminals in the heavenly prison. He is the person with the highest aptitude among the cultivators of the Void Scripture, after the Divine Void Ancestor. According to the ancient records, he had once betrayed the Godly Void Pavilion. On that day, half of the experts of the Godly Void Pavilion died in his hands. 107 star regions of the Eastern Heaven Immortal World were destroyed in his hands. He is too dangerous. He is a madman. The usually calm eyes of the little demoness actually revealed a hint of anger for the first time. Her palms were trembling, and that trembling was because of anger. Her name was Xiao Qianxi, and she was born in the Xiao family of the Godly Void Pavilion. The Xiao family used to be a large family in the Godly Void Pavilion. There was once an immortal king in the family. However, 45 million years ago, the Sun Luo immortal king single-handedly massacred the entire Xiao family. Since then, the Xiao family had declined. Only a few members of the Xiao family who had not returned temporarily escaped the calamity. Madman? Well said. I am a madman. For her, I don't mind being a madman. Being crazy is better than being ruthless like you all. Today, I will use the blood of your corpses to revive the ancient god's heart left by the flowing sand ancestor. With this heart in hand, I will trample the heavenly prison and wash the divine void realm with blood. Star River Burial Technique. Devour it for me. The red-haired immortal king laughed maniacally. He raised his hand and the suction force of the black hole suddenly increased by 10 times. Elder Luo, Qi Lian Demon Lord and the others were all sucked into the black hole. Ning Fan could no longer resist the endless suction force. He gritted his teeth and activated the defense of the 3 flowers to its limit. Then he patted his storage pouch and summoned the ancient devil puppet. He ordered it to stand outside the 3 flowers to protect him. He hugged the little demoness tightly, protecting her with all his might. Then he began to fall into the black hole. Soon, the entire flowing sand star region was empty. All the cultivators and demonic beasts had been sucked into the black hole. There was not a single cultivation planet in the empty star region. There was not a single starlight. It was dark, silent, and cold. When the golden-armored heavenly deity saw this scene, cold sweat broke out all over his body. He looked at the red-haired immortal king beside him with a pleading expression. Master, I am the third primordial spirit that you painstakingly cultivated. You can't harm my life. Humph! What is your life worth? You are an ancient god, the carrier of the flowing sand ancestor's heart. You must devour this heart, and help me destroy the heavenly prison. The red-haired immortal king said coldly. Master, you can't do this to me. Even though I am an ancient god, I only managed to open half a divine aperture by chance. It is not enough to absorb the power of the flowing sand heart. If I absorb it by force, I will definitely die. The golden-armored heavenly deity pleaded. Don't worry. I won't let you absorb the power of the flowing sand heart alone. After the red-haired immortal king said coldly, he suddenly looked at Mutu, who was standing beside him. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Mutu, do you know your crime? I don't know. Please tell me, master. Mutu immediately broke out in cold sweat when he heard the red-haired immortal king's question. He was the fake Mutu, the second primordial spirit that the red-haired immortal king cultivated. He had followed the red-haired immortal king for his entire life. Thus, he naturally knew how cold-blooded and bloodthirsty the latter was. After hearing the red-haired immortal king's question, Mutu was so frightened that his knees almost gave way. I asked you to look for the descendants of the ancient gods. How dare you say that you haven't found them yet? That junior named Ning Fan is obviously a one-aperture ancient god. The red-haired immortal king said sternly. What? That Ning Fan is actually an ancient god. Mutu's expression changed drastically. Forget it. If it wasn't because I have already absorbed half of the power of the flowing sand heart, I wouldn't be able to sense the ancient god bloodline in his body. You have yet to cultivate the divine heart, and he has a secret treasure that conceals his chi. It's understandable that you can't sense his identity as an ancient god. You can get a lighter punishment. The red-haired immortal king's expression softened slightly and said. As soon as he heard that he could get a lighter punishment, Mutu immediately felt much more relaxed. He took out a treasure sword that shone with dazzling golden light and pierced it into his dantian. This stab almost caused heavy damage to the primordial spirit in the dantian. Mutu's cultivation immediately plummeted. Originally, he was only one step away from breaking through to the middle shedding void realm. However, because of this sword, his cultivation was greatly reduced and he almost fell out of the shedding void realm. This sword was a form of self-punishment. Seeing Mutu sever himself, the red-haired immortal king nodded coldly and said, This time I've revealed my divine ability. Given the abilities of the Divine Void Emperor and the Divine Void Emperor, they must have sensed the fluctuation of the technique here, and guessed that the one I left in the heavenly prison is a fake body. They will definitely find their way to Quicksand Starfield within a day or several days at most. Move. Be quick. The red-haired immortal king's robes fluttered as he brought Mutu and the golden-armored celestial god into the black hole below. Then, the black hole gradually healed. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.